Hi. Hi.
Adam Curry, John C. Dvorak.
It's Thursday, December 5th, 2019. This is your award-winning Gitmo Nation Media Assassination, episode 1196.
This is No Agenda.
Enjoying just 8 hours of sunlight and broadcasting live parallel to runway 27 at Schiphol Airport in Amsterdam. Gitmo Nation Lowlands in the morning, everybody. I'm Adam Curry.
And from northern Silicon Valley, which isn't half as interesting, but we have an impeachment going on. I'm John C. Dvorak.
It's Crackpot and Buzzkill in the morning.
Oh, man. I got here, it's dark. I woke up and I got to work and it's dark again. It's like
it gets dark a lot.
It's only 8 hours of sunlight right now in the Gitmo Lowlands.
See the northern lights?
No, there's no northern lights here. At least not that I know of. No, not at all. Oh man, what a trip! And it never ceases.
Yes, we now expect to hear the travel report, which is sometimes the best part of the show.
It's going to be real short, real short. You know what was interesting? I left yesterday, 11 a.m. flight. No pre-check, of course. But there's no line at TSA. I go through. I have the whole studio with me. Now, I don't think there's been maybe one other time before that it went right through. Everything. The studio bag, the wire bag, the microphone. They didn't even try to pull it out. Got a vibrator in his bag. No, none of that. It was perfect. It flew right through. Not an issue. Then we had a tailwind, got in half an hour early. All that was good. Except for the fact that once again, KLM had no Wi-Fi on the flight. They apologized for it, but come on. It's like, how can they can't keep that together?
That's because it costs money.
Olive theory, yes. Likely. I don't know
if we just take the Wi-Fi and don't turn it on half the flights.
Yeah, we'll make $1 million.
$50 billion.
Exactly. I did have an OTG moment that really teed me off just before I boarded the plane in Austin. So we have the new terminal, and this is where a lot of the Delta flights originate from. And this new terminal is
in Austin.
In Austin. Yeah, we've got the new international terminal. And so they built everything beautiful, new on the inside, but all of the kind of coffee places are down the other end. And they've decided here is where we're going to innovate. So they have one of those coffee machines. Have you seen the automatic coffee machines at the airport? Well, you haven't been to an airport in 10 years probably, but they
what? They have a coffee machine?
Yeah, and it's kind of cool with a touch screen and
these machines have been around forever.
But here's what was different. So you can't pay with cash, so you have to swipe your card. So I swiped my card and...
it should be free, by the way, the coffee at an airport.
Oh, no. I don't even know what it was, but I'm sure it was $5 at least.
Too high.
Yeah, of course it's too high. So, the machine, you can look through it, the arm, and then you have your PIN number, which you're assigned when you pay for it. And you type in your PIN. It's like, oh, well, hello, Mr. Curry, welcome. Here's your coffee. The window opens and there's your coffee, and the coffee's not bad. So I go back to the gate. I get a text message from the coffee machine telling me that I should use Lyft next time I come to the airport. So they have tracked my telephone number through my card swipe and then decided to send me an ad message after I paid for my coffee.
I thought you were off the grid, man.
Yeah, I wanted coffee. Okay, shut up about your off the grid. You know what I'm talking about. This is. I think this is illegal. I did not consent.
Why would it be illegal?
Well, I didn't give my number to the coffee machine.
Somebody has it.
You know what it is? Is that I look at Jack Dorsey. It's the Square network. Square does this. The minute you're on their payment network, they share all your details with everybody. It angered me. It's like, wow. I paid for the coffee, and now you're going to send me an ad, too? I mean, if it were free, I'm like, okay, good. I won't take Lyft, but thanks for reminding me. But no. I paid for it, and they send me an ad.
Yeah, they're double dipping.
Well, I'm boycotting them now, which means
boycotting who?
The coffee machines.
Oh, brother.
I wonder if you can do something fun with them.
They have these new coffee machines in San Francisco
Mm-hmm.
they look like they're people making coffee, but it's a bunch of robot arms.
Yeah, this is what I'm talking about. I'm not talking. I said,
okay.
You didn't listen to me.
You had the robot arm.
Yes, the robot. You see that?
10-car Zephyr just went by.
Okay, let's stop on the coffee. I have an important report. A train report, since you brought up the Zephyr. How many cars was it?
10.
10 cars? Economy's doing great. Apparently, because of climate change, global warming, scorched earth, more people are taking the train this holiday season.
It was a busy weekend on the roads, in the air, and on the rails, as Amtrak expects the numbers will show a record-breaking surge of travelers.
Amtrak had its largest passenger count during last year's Thanksgiving week with over 846,000 riders. That number is expected to be met or exceeded this year.
So many people, especially in some of those college markets, faculty, staff, and students need to get back from whence they came.
Spokesman Mark Maglieri says Amtrak spends months preparing for the high volume of holiday travelers. That includes adding more trains to routes and supersizing others.
The most important thing is just us getting people where they want to go, doing so safely and reliably.
With so many passengers, it's likely trains will experience some delays. Thankfully, riders can get real-time updates on Amtrak's website.
Our trains are all equipped, of course, with GPS and our systems talking back and forth to the trains.
Rachel Pearson, News Radio, 105.9 FM.
And on the rails, Amtrak trains headed to Chicago this morning were running on time. One notable exception, the California Zephyr coming to Chicago from Emeryville, California, near San Francisco. It was running about 5 hours late.
How come you were not aware of this tardiness of the Zephyr?
It's because of the extra cars. It just slows it down.
5 hours late. The California Zephyr, everybody. You remember from those beautiful ads. It's great. And 5 hours late. Nice.
Well, that's nothing like the train, apparently, that was like, I forgot where this was what happened, but I think it was in the southern part of the country. The train was 2 days late. How do you get 2 days late?
That's fantastic. Well, I'm in Europe. I am here at the airport hotel, which, as you know, is my favorite, which means everything kind of works. And I didn't do the best studio build this time. I was really groggy when I woke up. I went to bed and we got in. I was like, when you literally sleep drunk, that's how I felt. Just wobbling around the hallway. Yeah, like wobbling around what am I doing? But you turn on the news because I want to give a little local flavor for the show today. And, of course, the news is only one thing right now in all of Euroland, because when you have these countries close together, everything's interconnected. In particular, air travel. There's a massive, massive strike in France today.
Well, it is absolute chaos here for workers in Paris. 11 of the city's 16 metro lines are not operating today. Most metro stations, like this one behind me, are closed and shuttered. And we're going to see big demonstrations later in the day. And shops and businesses along the routes of the protests are mostly shuttered. Banks have put up wooden screens to try to save their windows and cash dispensers from being smashed, as they have often been during the Yellow Vest protests, and thousands of police are being deployed in the French capital because of fears that Yellow Vests and anti-capitalist protesters who are likely to be violent may join the union marches across the city. So even for people who are not on strike today, getting to work is a huge struggle, and I've spoken to many people who've resorted to bikes or who are simply walking. Hospitals are open, but all but non-urgent operations have been cancelled, and many schools are also closed, and a lot of shops have decided just to shut for the day to avoid possible damage if those protests do turn violent.
So millions of people on the street in France, which screws up everything. The train traffic, the air traffic is really bad because, KLM, Air France, they're all one, Delta, pilots, they have to reroute everything. It's vacation time. It's
well, it was the ground crews that went on strike, which makes it really tough.
You can't do much without the ground crews.
I have a similar report called Massive Strikes that came out of FanCat.
Oh, yes.
The French source.
Okay, let's have a listen to that.
By law, public sector transport workers must give their employers 48 hours notice of their intention to strike. This allows the French railway operator SNCF to announce its traffic plans at least 24 hours before disruptions begin. Based on the information it's received, the company has warned about major transport chaos on Thursday, with only 1 in 10 trains running as normal. Served routes will be the high-speed TGV lines between Paris and other major cities in France, including Bordeaux, Lille and Marseille. Meanwhile, around half of Eurostar trains, including 16 between Paris and London, have already been cancelled, according to the company's website. Also striking are employees of RATP, which runs Paris's public transport system. Only 2 lines on the metro will be operating as usual. 11 lines will be closed, and 3 will be running during rush hour only. Regional train, bus and tram lines will also be badly hit. Last but not least, air travel will be affected. 3 of the unions representing ground crew for Air France have joined the strike, along with air traffic control staff. 20% of flights, most of them short haul, have been cancelled on Thursday.
So this is also being followed in the Netherlands and other countries because the dispute here is about pensions, and this has been going on for several years, this conversation. I've been following it in the Netherlands. Basically, the pensions don't have enough money, the pension funds. Certainly not the government-run pension funds, and so they want to cut everybody. They're talking about 35% less. And old people are pissed off, and rightfully so. Although in France, Euronews puts their own little spin on it.
About 6 out of 10 French people do support the strikes, but there's a paradox here, because the same opinion polls also show that 3/4 of French people accept that it is necessary to reform France's complicated pension system and to streamline it. What President Macron essentially wants to do is to scrap the country's 42 different pension systems and harmonise them, bring them into one uniform system. So it is a paradox. I've spoken to an economist and a sociologist about this, and they explain it by saying, well, the French support the reforms with their heads, but with their hearts, they're still backing the strikes. Okay. Difficult perhaps to grasp, but for now the strikes do enjoy a very high degree of public support.
Well, it's just getting underway. I think all of Europe is going to start burning. People are done with it. They're so done. They're done. They're done with it. They're done with the EU. They're done with all the bull crap. Did you know that even the Irish farmers had also protested? We missed this.
No, I didn't know about
this.
Yeah,
about 5 days ago, they stormed the Irish Parliament with tractors. Somehow, I didn't see the news about it.
Yes, I did hear this. I don't have a report, but I did hear it.
So between the unionized,
by the way, one of the things about the French, especially in Paris, that you didn't get on any of these reports, but it is played up on some of the European stations, which is. They've taken to the streets. They're now bicycling to work. Many are on scooters. Apparently the scooter invasion has hit Paris.
Has helped. Wow, we can get to work. Very nice. I see issues. You can feel it in the air. And everybody's all in with the strikes. I mean, okay, 6 out of 10 according to Euronews. But everyone here is like, yeah, I agree. And so why wouldn't that happen here? You got the farmers, you got the organized workers. They're all going against the government. And I think maybe Trump had something to do with it.
And?
Well, there was this NATO summit. And I have to say, I kind of like the new Macron. giving Trump a big mouth. That was kind of cool to see. Like, okay, President. Well, ISIS isn't really over. It's not really done yet. Did you see this clip with him and Macron?
Yeah, I saw it. It was a back and forth. I may have a clip of the clip.
I have a clip of that event, which I liked, and I think it's good. One, because Trump got a little pushback. That was fun to watch, and I don't think he took it very well. And two, I like it because, if I were Germany, I'd be going, you got a big mouth over there, France. What are you doing? Saying NATO's crap and Trump's crap and
Well, I haven't asked that to the president today. I have over the period of time. We have a tremendous amount of captured fighters, ISIS fighters, over in Syria. And they're all under lock and key. But many are from France, many are from Germany, many are from UK. They're mostly from Europe, and some of the countries are agreeing. I have not spoken to the president about that. Would you like some nice ISIS fighters?
Now, I think he did that because Macron was talking crap about NATO, which, of course, is true, but Trump is really proud of the 2%ers who have paid their dues, and France isn't there yet. And so I think this was kind of a snide remark towards him saying, would you like some ISIS fighters, the ones that we got rid of for you? And then Macron comes back.
I can give them to you. You can take everyone you want.
Let's be serious.
Let's be serious.
There are a large number of fighters you have on the ground. ISIS fighters coming from Syria, from Iraq, and the region. It is true that you have foreign fighters coming from Europe, but this is a tiny minority of the overall problem we have in the region. And I think number one priority, because it's not yet finished, is to get rid of ISIS and these terrorist groups.
So, wait a minute, I thought we got rid of ISIS. Now he's saying we didn't. This was a slap in the face.
This is our number one priority. And it's not yet done. I'm sorry to say that. You still have fighters in this region, in Syria and now in Iraq, and more. And the whole destabilization of the region makes the situation more difficult to fix the situation against ISIS. And don't make any mistake. Your number one problem are not the foreign fighters. This is the ISIS fighters in the region. And you have more and more of these fighters due to the situation today.
This is why he's a great politician, because that was one of the greatest non-answers I've ever heard. And that's okay.
And that's okay.
No, I think he got nipped. Yeah.
This was kind of building to a head after the really just kind of a blanket insult that Trump laid on the entire EU earlier.
Oh, what was
that
this?
Little meetup. This is the best clip I could get of it was part of a summary, but this is the random. This is actually this is something that none of the mainstream media people are going to play. This is the random NATO comments.
I inherited a situation where the European Union, which was formed partially for this reason, I guess for a lot of reasons it was formed, but partially to make better or take advantage of the United States. And they've done that very brilliantly. And frankly, it's not right. So I've exposed it. A lot of people didn't know it. And we're doing things about it.
We're doing things, man. We do big things, huge things about it.
So what he said was the EU, which I've always firmly believed, was established to as a bulwark against the United States. And so far as the economics is concerned, they wanted to have a big giant market that could compete with us because we're a big giant market, but just by ourselves. Yeah. And so every time somebody brings it up, everyone gets bent out of shape.
Well, I think that Macron is doing something very interesting. All of a sudden, his balls dropped, and he's got a big mouth, and he's talking about, NATO's no good. We got to have our own army. And I don't think he's talking about a European army. He's talking about a French army, which they have. They've got the Mirage fighters. And they fly all over the place.
And that works out so well for him.
And meanwhile, in Britain, according to the Daily Mail, we'll take that with a grain of salt, the slaves there are being told to keep the population down and to stop them from killing trees. Britons should eat gray squirrels. That's an interesting take on the bugs.
I can send him a recipe. We had a recipe. Our Southerners developed a recipe called burgoo.
Burgoo.
Which was squirrel stew.
Squirrel.
So maybe I'll publish it in a newsletter.
I'll make it. We got tons of squirrels in Austin.
Oh, it's good eating.
It's only really good if it has tire tracks, though. Then it's the best. It's nice and tender.
Yeah, tender and marinated.
Yeah.
Let's listen to here's Al Jazeera's NATO meeting report. This is NATO meeting report from Al
Trump's
Jazeera.
response on being asked about the Canadian Prime Minister's comments.
Well, he's too fast.
And soon afterwards he tweeted that there was no need for a final press conference. Emmanuel Macron, meanwhile, continued to press his case for change.
Who is our enemy? How can we act together against international terrorism in particular? These are all subjects that were not sufficiently settled. Our debates should be about something other than budgetary and financial issues.
The voices of reassurance were left sounding a bit thin.
We have always been able to overcome these differences and then unite around our core task to protect and defend each other. And that's exactly what we do today.
The question it all raises is central to what NATO is and what it exists for. What happens to an alliance built on collective defence when that collective commitment, that spirit of unity, isn't as solid as some would like it to be?
Well,
yeah, never will be either.
No.
It's just going downhill.
Then we have the big COP25 taking place.
Well, before we leave that,
no,
I did want to discuss the fact that there was a little back and forth between Trudeau and Trump, and it had to do with Trudeau making some allusions or something about Trump being late or something.
No, this was the so-called hidden hot mic camera episode between Boris Johnson.
Did you get a good tape, a clip of this? It sounds like bull crap.
Let me tell you. I tried for about 15 minutes. I tried filtering. I tried noise reduction. I tried everything I could to make it audible enough for the show, and it's just not there. I mean, they have the subtitles in the video clip.
Yeah,
these guys are basically just talking about Trump being late or what. It just
who cares?
Really?
But it did result in Trudeau making up some phony baloney story about it to try to cover his ass. And that brought in one of the Canadian competitors to Trudeau, this Sikh named Jagmeet Singh. And he had a funny thing to say. He supported Trump. In this
this is the guy who's also who was also running, wasn't he?
Yeah, the Sikh.
Yeah.
And here he is on Trudeau.
I'm looking for a Sikh clip. And
Jagmeet.
Okay. I could have known.
What I've said often about Mr. Trudeau is that he certainly says some things in public and then says things very differently in private. For example, he talks about the importance of Indigenous relationships as being a priority in public, but in private, in a closed-door fundraiser with wealthy donors, he mocked and made fun of activists that were complaining about a legitimate concern about clean drinking water and mercury poisoning in grassy narrows. Very different approach in public and very different approach in private. And that's something that I've said before. There's many reasons to criticize Mr. Trump, but criticizing about making someone late to a cocktail party is not one. And these two Mr. Trudeau's in public and private is something that I've seen many times, and I think Canadians are starting to see more and more.
Wow, this is like the sub show of Big Brother. It's like, come on, get back to the
really bad.
Get back to the main program.
It leads me to believe, because when you saw that thing you tried to get the clip from, it was a little gathering around Trudeau. This leads me to believe that the guy is probably pretty funny in a small group and probably pretty nasty.
That I believe. I don't know if he's funny, but I'll believe he's well, the nasty could be funny, of course.
It could be funny and nasty, but he looks like one of those guys you'd gather around it because he just slam other people. And it probably is very entertaining. I mean, Boris Johnson was laughing about something.
Boris Johnson will laugh about anything.
Well, but this guy, I think he's onto something here. So Trudeau is one of those guys.
funny.
Hey, let me tell you about this guy.
Yeah, this guy is really, I got to tell you, he's just really no good.
Anyway, so you were going on about, we're changing topics.
Well, actually, I was going to do an entremont. Let me see. Yes. Only discussed on the previous show. Just what was it, 4 days ago. We talked about it. We looked for the historical. We predicted it. And here it is.
The spirit of giving has arrived in mid-Michigan.
It feels good. It makes you know that there's good people out there.
An anonymous donor paid off people's layaway items at the Midland Walmart.
Now, this is what's great about it. So not only did we know this was going to happen, but it also happened in Florida, the same amount at a Walmart. But I couldn't get any clips. One is because I had to set up a proxy, and so there was all kinds of issues getting through to certain sites, certainly the local TV stations, websites. They all just say, you're from Europe. No can do. But I'll finish this one because this is not only is the whole setup a native ad for Walmart. They do it every year. But this time, the station was in on it. Just listen how far they go.
Monday morning.
At first, I didn't believe it. I got a text from Walmart layaway saying that someone had paid my layaway and I only owed a penny.
Melissa Halliday's gifts all paid for. Frozen dolls and a tablet. Gifts for her 3-year-old daughter, who also has a birthday in December. Her payment would have been nearly $230.
I was in shock. I didn't know how to feel. But then I sat at home and cried for a little bit. And then I went and picked up my items.
Walmart confirmed with us the mystery donor paid off around $3,000 in layaway items, focusing on gifts for children. And the gesture is one that Melissa won't soon forget.
I was off work for a while for medical conditions, so we've been behind on bills and struggling a little bit. It was just great to get that phone call. It was something that really helped us.
Now, we've reached out to Walmart to try to find out the identity of the mystery donor, but they're keeping it anonymous.
Oh, yeah.
So if you are the donor and you're watching, the people who you helped out wanted to say
thanks, God bless. It really helped our family, and we're very, very happy.
Almost a perfect 60-second native ad. It was beautiful. Well done, executed. Everyone pretends they've never seen it before. Roll with it. And it was the same.
$250 at Walmart. Now, okay. It cost them $250 to pay off the lady's bills, and then probably.
Well, they said it was $3,000. They said it was $3,000. No, they said it was $3,000 that the total payment to pay off the layaways, which seems low.
Okay.
But yeah, so
that could be all fiction.
But they did. Well, that's also true. But I saw the same report in Florida, and I saw another one from Pennsylvania. So they're doing it nationwide.
Yeah. It's a part of a scheme. It's part of a scheme.
Yeah.
It's an advertising scam. Yeah. And I'm surprised that these news stations, by the way, should be ashamed of themselves.
Well, they're in on it. Come on. This was clearly
I know,
in
that's
on
what
it.
I'm saying. That's why they should be ashamed of themselves. They're totally in on it. This is a sold proposition. They come around with every year, one or two of the stations, actually a couple of the stations usually run it, and they get paid to run it.
Yeah. Yeah, and then the sales guy comes up to the news staff, says, "Look, I know you saw the story. We really got to cover this because we got another buy coming up. So if you could mention Walmart a couple times, maybe get a little shot, and then maybe do the stand up in front of the Walmart sign. That would be great. Okay, that's how it. And get me those TPS reports. That'd be great. Give me those TPS reports. Yeah." Very good, Walmart. Proud of you. Another fine American scam perpetrated on the watching public.
Some other bonehead marketeers from the various other retailers haven't come up with this scam and use it for their, kind of preempt it. Because if you do it before Walmart does it, then it looks like sour grapes. Makes them look bad.
You could actually sell this idea to local stores. Say, look. I'm going to get you it doesn't have to be the layaway, but it can be any Good Samaritan giving for something. And you could sell it as a whole package. These guys, local guys should be doing it to their local stores.
Yeah. There's a lot of potential here for sales, but you and I both have met and know people who do broadcast sales.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Too much work.
Brown shoes. Too much work. Exactly.
Too much work. I'm reminded of the time. This probably is in the compilation too. So I'm working for Tech TV, and I'm about a couple years into this gig, doing a daily show on the air of their network. I go to New York to meet with one of the salespeople for something. I had to check. I forgot what the purpose of my meeting was, but I went there. And so the person's not in, some woman. Oh, she's not in this. She's coming. There she is. She's coming off the elevator. Says, I'm John C. Dvorak. And she says, oh, you're who? John C. Dvorak. Okay. And you do what? I said, I have a daily TV show on this network. What's it called?
And did you walk away in disgust?
I did, actually.
Yeah, I would too.
I was disgusted. They didn't know anything. They're supposedly selling ads for this network, and nobody knows any of the shows. They never watch it. I mean, it's ridiculous.
No, it's just a numbers game. So what are the ratings? Let me just see the numbers. I don't care. They don't. They don't care. Well, let us go to the COP25 for a moment. This is the 25th. 25th already.
Amy will be there.
Have they done this for 25 years already, or they do multiple in a year? 20? Is this seriously?
Doing it.
It must be the 25th year. So they just keep on. No, so of course we're not really represented there, or are we? Because apparently the whole delegation, Nancy and the crew, were out there. Pelosi, and she got on the mic and spoke.
Where was this?
Well, it's the new locale. Remember, wasn't it supposed to be in Bolivia? Where was it supposed to be? It was all shit. Wherever something went horribly wrong.
Well, this one, I believe this one's in Madrid.
Yeah, it's in Madrid, but it was supposed to be.
Wait a minute, hold on, stop. Are you telling me that during a major impeachment trial, that seems to be the most important thing happening in this country at the moment, if you are to take the Democrats seriously, that Nancy Pelosi?
Oh, yeah.
Traipsed off to Madrid with a couple of her pals?
Even better than that, she said something which I think is impeachable. And I will explain why after we listen.
This is a mission. This is a passion. This is a scientifically based approach to all of it. And we're here to say to all of you, on behalf of the House of Representatives and the Congress of the United States, we're still in it. We're still in it.
So we're still in the Paris Accord, apparently, according to Nancy. Now, for all the things she says about what the president can and cannot do, it is not her responsibility to say what we're in or not. Not when it comes to treaties. That's the executive branch. So she should not be saying these things.
Overstepping her bounds. What does she think? She's president?
She should not be saying these things, and certainly not with that slur. My goodness.
Yeah, it doesn't have much.
It's embarrassing.
With boys.
I don't know what it is, but she's also tired. I think
she's floating around. She's in Madrid. She's living it up.
No, I think she's tired. I'm tired from going back and forth to Holland a couple times. These people do. Well, of course, they fly a little differently. They don't fly middle seat coach.
No.
No. Let's see. Who else weighed in? Of course, Kerry. What's his name? First name, Kerry? Joe Kerry?
John Kerry?
Pete Kerry? John Kerry, yeah. No,
What's John Kerry doing there?
Under his watch as Secretary of State is when they got this whole Paris thing together. And, of course, he has clients.
Who picked up the tap to send these people there?
You and me. He has clients at Bain Capital, although, of course, that's just a former company, but I'm sure he's got clients there. And he's now also part of some group. I'll have to look it up and see exactly what they are. I'll find it in a second. Here he is talking about how severe it is. He uses an analogy we've discussed before.
Hold on a second before you play this. You have seen to have forgotten our previous agreement.
I know, but
I'm gonna let it go. But
well, the minute you think he's too boring, let me know. It's only 1:10, so hopefully we'll be able to get through it.
The fact is that
boring.
We are.
It's in the beginning, so hold on.
The fact is that we are so far behind that you need now to organize nations almost as if we were at war. That is why we call this new organization World War Zero, because no one country can solve the problem of climate change. You have to have every country at the table. Most importantly, the 20 or so largest economies in the world, which are about 85%, 90% of all emissions. Secondly, you've got to start to make a set of decisions that are really enormous, not unlike decisions that were made in the course of World War II to make sure we could win the war. We're not doing that today. We need to accelerate the transition to decarbonize transportation, to move to electric vehicles. That means you've got to accelerate the process of building the infrastructure so you can charge those vehicles around the nation. I mean, there are a whole set of interlocking decisions, none of which are being made by the United States at a large national level, because we have a president who says that climate change is a Chinese hoax. And the result of the American presidency moving out of the position of leadership that President Obama and the administration gave it is that other nations that want to be slower and laggard about it are doing so. So the entire effort has been slowed, and it's very dangerous. Lives are being lost now here in our country. Mudslides, fires, floods, droughts, and in other parts of the world, which is all interconnected, there are challenges to food production, to habitability. People are going to be refugees, climate refugees. There already are climate refugees.
This World War Zero thing is big. It's really nothing. It's part of a bigger nonprofit.
Who are we fighting against? Who's this war against?
Well, this is what's interesting. It's a nonprofit. It is the what is the name of this place? It's a project of this big nonprofit, which is filled with admirals and generals. It is an actual military-industrial complex operation that he's in here. And he's got, celebrities. He's got, all the big names. Let me see. For some reason, I've lost my place with this. Who was it? Well, the American Security Project. This is a bunch of fine people. What do you think? Board of directors? Want to hear a few? That always helps.
Oh, obviously.
Yeah, let's see. Board of directors. Okay, Gary Hart. He hasn't been around in a while.
Gary Hart?
Yeah.
From the Hubba Hubba boat?
Yeah. Christy Todd Whitman. But then we get Brigadier General Stephen Cheney, U.S. Marine Corps retired. Then we get Congressman Donald Breyer, Lieutenant General Daniel Chrisman, also retired. Let's see, Admiral William Fallon. We got Vice Admiral Lee Gunn, the Honorable Chuck Hagel. It's
like a drinking club.
It's a whole defense club who are naming their latest thing World War Zero because we have to fight it like World War II. Well, in that case, you better get the Russians on board because you need them to win. But it's they got Ernst Moins. Everybody's in this club. And I bet they get paid, too.
They probably suck some money out of something.
It's got to be. It's got to be.
And probably not minor amounts, enough to buy better booze.
That's what it's all about.
I think that sounds what it sounds like. I mean, it sounds like the Army-Navy Club roster, the way you're reading these names.
It's exactly what it is. Yeah. Bill Nye piping up again with one of his famous PSAs. And this
is science guy?
Yeah, the science guy. And he's sitting in this shot with stacks of dollar bills, or, maybe they're Benjamins. You can't really see. So stacks, as we say in hip-hop, stacks and racks of stacks, lots of money. And he's letting the truth out. If you want to be rich, get on board.
So here it is, people. I'm going to level with you. The real reason you should do your part to combat climate change is it'll make you filthy f***ing rich. Can you imagine how much sweet, sweet cabbage you'll be piling up if you could invent a cleaner energy source or help develop carbon capture technology? The math is simple. Stacks plus stacks equals more stacks. So go green and get green. See what I'm saying? And turn off the damn lights.
So he is telling kids, get on board, get some government money to do some research, and you'll get rich by being on board the climate train.
It's kind of pandering. It's that doesn't make it sound like anyone's very sincere about the problem.
No, it's all about the Benjamins for this guy. It did give me the ISO, possible ISO.
And turn off the damn lights.
I thought that might be a possible end of show ISO.
Turn off the damn lights. That's actually not a bad one because I have one competitor which came out of the impeachment hearings.
Oh, okay.
And this is hearings 11 ISO.
Okay.
Is really going to look at this and say, huh?
Yeah, I like that. We got some submissions from No Agenda Kids.
Don't eat me, Bo Jiden. You're scary. So scary.
I like Bo Jiden. And then we had a take two.
Don't eat me, Joe Biden.
I like that one too. They're both kind of good.
Yeah, they're both usable. I don't know about end of show, but I think they're just generally just to use in general.
Well, I think I have the absolute end of show ISO. You ready? You got to sit down for this because it's made for us.
Oh my God, we have run out of clips. No.
End of show. We've run out of clips. Or we can use that as a pre-end of show when we actually run out of clips.
Oh my God, we have run out of clips. No.
Stop sniffing my hair, Joe.
I'm filled with them today.
Yeah, somebody really loaded you up.
Well, just people hear this stuff and like, oh yeah, we can give you some ISOs, man. Got some ISOs going on.
Well, good. I'm glad it's getting competitive.
Yes.
All right, where were we?
Well, I think you've mentioned it a couple times. You might want to bring me up to date on the impeachment. I have, let me see. I don't have much, actually. Yeah, in fact, I have very little. Because I didn't see it. I was traveling during the first full
crap. But if we got some stuff.
What I just understand, this round, now we had Jerry the Troll, Nadler, and he was running it. This is the Judiciary Committee, the committee that would actually draft and file articles of impeachment. And now we've gotten to the point where we had to bring lawyers to explain to everybody how what the president did was impeachable. Do I have this right? That's what it was? It was a bunch of lawyers explaining to you how the law works in America? Was that what was happening here?
No, it was mostly a bunch of lawyers opining. They're all, well, let's see here. Let's play. Let's play the long. You can stop this if it's too long. This is the hearing rundown on NBC. Now, I want to mention something. So this thing is on the networks, not Fox, but CBS.
Wait,
ABC,
they put it on. They put the whole thing on the networks during the day.
Well, yes,
they preempted their programming during the day. Wow, what a mistake!
Kathy Lee and all that stuff.
Oh, what a mistake. Oh, this is going to hurt them so much. Think of all the ad slots we're losing out on Christmas. Are they insane?
Well, they pulled the plug on it. Now,
okay.
What happened was they're letting this thing slide, and and it's going on and on until about, I think about Pacific time around 10 o'clock maybe. All three networks almost simultaneously. And this was during the part where Doug Collins was ranting about something. And this is right after the Republican lawyer, who is actually an anti-Trumper, but he's the only guy they'd allow, was going on about how this is all a bunch of nonsense. And just as that was going on, all three networks at the same time pulled the plug.
Oh, really now?
Yeah, it was almost like it was, okay, boys,
Wrap them up.
ABC's pulling the plug. We're pulling the plug. ABC, what about the NBC? They're pulling the plug. We're pulling the plug.
Yeah.
ABC, NBC, they're pulling the plug. We're pulling the plug.
It would be good to know who pulled first. Who plugged first?
Well, it was impossible to tell because when one pulled the plug, you go to the next network. They're pulling the plug, and they're all pulling the plug.
I bet you CBS went first. They're the big dog, aren't they?
I believe maybe CBS did go first. And they led the way, and they pulled the plug, and then everyone pulled the plug. So then they all go to a little short-term analysis, saying, in fact, contradicting what you just heard, especially on NBC. Well, that's terrible. A guy comes up and says, "Well, the Trump's really there's nothing here. So you're on thin ice with this stuff," and they pull the plug. And meanwhile, CBS pulled the plug, but still had a little box with you can see what's going on.
Oh, running on, yeah.
Hear anything?
Hearings underway live right now. Too boring to show.
You could see Doug Collins screaming his head off.
You couldn't hear it, though.
This was the only good part of the hearings.
They didn't even air that. Oh, who's running that show? These guys are nuts. That's going to cost them a lot.
They screwed up.
Yeah.
Now, let's listen to the long, and you don't have to play the whole thing, but this is the hearing rundown on NBC.
Inviting a panel of constitutional scholars to bolster their investigation.
President Trump has committed impeachable high crimes and misdemeanors by corruptly abusing the office of the presidency.
What has happened in the case today is something that I do not think we have ever seen before. A president who has doubled down on violating his oath to faithfully execute the laws.
3 of the Democrats' experts arguing the president's alleged misconduct pressuring Ukraine's leader to investigate the president's political rival, Joe Biden, is grounds for removal. The Republicans' lone witness dismissing the Democrats' case as wafer thin.
I'm concerned about lowering impeachment standards to fit a paucity of evidence and an abundance of anger.
Democrats emphasizing the urgency for action.
If we do not act to hold him in check now, President Trump will almost certainly try again to solicit interference in the election.
But the top Republican, Doug Collins, appearing exasperated, attacked the inquiry as a partisan sham.
It didn't start with Mueller. It didn't start with a phone call. You know where this started? It started with tears in Brooklyn in November 2016.
With Democrats eyeing an impeachment vote before Christmas, Republicans say they're focusing on the calendar, not the facts.
This is a fast impeachment. I would argue it's not a fast impeachment. It's a predetermined impeachment.
The tone not always scholarly. Professor Pamela Karlan taking offense to the Republicans' assertion the experts have not done their homework.
I would like to say to you, sir, that I read transcripts of every one of the witnesses. I'm insulted by the suggestion that as a law professor, I don't care about those facts.
Later, Karlan drawing criticism for invoking President Trump's 13-year-old son to make her point that a president is not a king.
The Constitution says there can be no titles of nobility. So while the president can name his son Baron, he can't make him a baron.
The First Lady tweeting, Pamela Karlan, you should be ashamed. Karlan later apologizing.
I want to apologize for what I said earlier about the president's son. It was wrong of me to do that.
All of it coming as Rudy Giuliani, the president's personal lawyer, already under scrutiny for his role in the pressure campaign on Ukraine, is back in Eastern Europe. According to the New York Times, meeting with an ousted Ukrainian prosecutor as Giuliani again tries to dig up dirt on the president's political rivals.
All right, Peter, so what's next in this impeachment process?
Yeah, Lester, after today's marathon hearing, House Democrats are trying to keep to a short timeline to review the evidence, draft articles of impeachment, and vote, all in the next 2.5 weeks.
Yeah, so I did catch the angry Stanford law professor who had to apologize about what she said about the president's son.
I thought it was a funny line.
Yeah.
And she could have stuck by her guns. I mean, that's what Trump would have done. But no, she wimps out as the classic, this is the classic spineless Democrat kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And she starts apologizing for what? What did she do wrong? Nothing.
Mm-hmm. Well, you're
okay.
Yeah.
It was not politically correct to mention him. Why?
Yeah.
Why? What difference does it make? It's a funny line. She executed it perfectly. She got her point across. It had nothing to do with the law or analysis or anything.
I mean,
the
reason why is exactly that. That was the problem. It was a highlight of the entire telecast. a scene-stealing highlight, and she had to be hammered down for it. But yeah,
much.
I agree. It was good. There was one piece.
And she bought into the hammering.
Yeah, stupid.
She should have said, "Stop the hammering."
And I did catch one clip of Jonathan Turley. He's a law professor from George Washington University. I guess
he's the guy that was representing the Republicans.
That's obvious. That's obvious. But I did like what he said because, I mean, first of all, on the plane, since I had no internet, I did download the House Intelligence Impeachment Report, which is about 300 pages, and I read it. Well, at a certain point, you skim through some things, but I spent several hours reading this. And it's fictional. It's things that are just absolutely not true, such as it states that under huge public pressure, only then did the president release the transcript. This is not true. This is not true. He released it almost out of the blue. There was no public pressure. There was not. I mean, it was the next day, wasn't it?
He released it out of the blue pretty much. Yeah, I think it was pretty close to when they started bringing up the topic. He did it as a mechanism to stave off continued bitching. Yeah. But it wasn't because of public pressure. What are they talking about? Yeah, and there's stuff like, they'll quote from the whole all of this is based on a transcript being interpreted, with artistic license. So when you say, then the president asked to, quote, do us a favor, and then the quote ends, to dig up dirt on his political rival, Joe Biden. It's just not true. It's just not what's in the actual transcript. Now that they have, it's a lie.
Yeah. And let me play this George Washington University professor, because one of the articles of impeachment will be obstruction of justice, and which they've already tried with this president, but they're trying it again because he is taking these committees to court over certain things they want to have. I don't even know what it is they want besides his taxes, but whatever. They've got a lot of documents. They want more, and he's taken them to court. And there's an interesting historical perspective to this when it comes to impeachment.
You're saying Article 1 gives us complete authority that when we demand information from another branch, it must be turned over or we'll impeach you in record time. Now, making that worse is that you have such a short investigation. It's a perfect storm. You set an incredibly short period, demand a huge amount of information, and when the president goes to court, you then impeach him. Now, does that track with what you've heard about impeachment? Does that track with the rule of law that we've talked about? So, on obstruction, I would encourage you to think about this. In Nixon, it did go to the courts, and Nixon lost. And that was the reason Nixon resigned. He resigned a few days after the Supreme Court ruled against him in that critical case. But in that case, the court recognized there are executive privilege arguments that can be made. It didn't say, you had no right coming to us, don't darken our doorstep again. It said, we've heard your arguments. We've heard Congress's arguments. And you know what? You lose. Turn over the material to Congress. Do you know what that did for the judiciary is it gave this body legitimacy. It wasn't the Rodino extreme position that only you decide what information can be produced. I can't emphasize this enough, and I'll say it just one more time. If you impeach a president, if you make a high crime and misdemeanor out of going to the courts, it is an abuse of power. It's your abuse of power. You're doing precisely what you're criticizing the president for doing. We have a third branch that deals with conflicts of the other two branches. And what comes out of there and what you do with it is the very definition of legitimacy.
I don't know if that went over anywhere, if anyone cares about it, but that was an interesting historical perspective. Is that true about Nixon?
Yeah, he's right about it. He was very good on there. Kind of laughing a lot, and because of these other maniacs, especially that woman. and who just was in fact, I'm going to skip one. I want to play a couple of things, but let's go to the kind of summarize things. I think Gates, the guy who's always getting criticized for being a rough, a little too harsh on everybody.
Oh, really?
He did have it. He's the Republican.
He has kind of a Muppet face. You know, like when you scrunch it up.
Yeah, a little bit.
It's
a little
kind
bit.
of
He looks
funny.
like one of the Muppets.
Muppet Gates, yeah.
But he definitely laces into everybody and does a pretty good job of it. I thought he was the best of all the guys. But there's other stuff I want to play. But let's play this guy first. This impeachment 2, Gates 1.
Professor Gerhardt, you gave money to Barack Obama, right?
My family did, yes.
4 times?
That sounds about right. Yes.
Mr. Feldman wrote articles entitled, "Trump's wiretap tweets raise risk of impeachment." He then wrote, "Mar-a-Lago ad belongs in impeachment file." And then Mr. Jake Flanagan wrote in Quartz, "A Harvard law professor thinks Trump could be impeached over fake news accusations." My question, Professor Feldman, is since you seem to believe that the basis for impeachment is even broader than the basis that my Democrat colleagues have laid forward, do you believe you're outside of the political mainstream on the question of impeachment?
I believe that impeachment is warranted whenever the president abuses his power for personal benefit or to corrupt the democratic process.
Did you write an article entitled "It's Hard to Take Impeachment Seriously Now"?
Yes, I did write that
article. And in that article, did you write, hold on, I'm limited on time. So
I wrote
did you write, since the 2018 midterm election, House Democrats have made it painfully clear that discussing impeachment is primarily or even exclusively a tool to weaken President Trump's chances in 2020. Did you write those words?
Until this call in July 25th, I was an impeachment skeptic. The call changed my mind, sir, and for good reason.
I appreciate your testimony. Professor Carlin, you gave $2,000, or you gave $1,000 to Elizabeth Warren, right?
I believe so.
You gave $1,200 to Barack Obama?
I have no reason to question that.
And you gave $2,000 to Hillary Clinton?
That's correct.
Why so much more for Hillary than the other two?
Because I've been giving a lot of money to charity recently because of all of the poor people in the United States.
Well, those aren't the only folks you've been given to. Now, have you ever been on a podcast called Versus Trump?
Whoa!
I think I was on a live panel that the people who ran the podcast called Versus Trump.
On that, do you remember saying the following? Liberals tend to cluster more. Conservatives, especially very conservative people, tend to spread out more. Perhaps because they don't even want to be around themselves. Did you say that?
Yes, I did.
Wow. Again, the podcast, the star of the show. Fantastic. Well, these are all lawfare lawyers. This is a group called the Lawfare Group. And they've had all these different strategies. I think every single one of them is a member of the group. And their strategy has been to get rid of the president one way or another. And they publish this. They publish strategies. They're the ones behind the convention of states to usurp the electoral college. And there's all this kind of stuff going on. It's,
right. I think they're maybe responsible for the idea that the states will. They're electrical.
Yeah, they're electrical. No. It's electrical college from now on. I don't care
what.
Their
electrical college vote is specifically changed to the popular vote winner.
Right.
Countrywide.
Yeah, that's the idea. That's the idea.
Yeah, so if I'm in Nevada and the electoral vote would go to Trump, but the popular vote for the U.S., which means California, votes for Hillary, then I have to change mine to Hillary.
Correct.
Yeah, that's great.
They're working on it.
Anyway, that's part 2 of this as he continues to excoriate these folk.
Do you understand how that reflects contempt on people who are conservative?
No, what I was talking about there was the natural tendency, if you put the quote in context, the natural tendency of a compactness requirement to favor a party whose voters are more spread out.
Well,
and I do
Professor,
not have contempt
I'm very limited on time, Professor. And so I just have to say, when you talk about how liberals want to be around each other and cluster, and conservatives don't want to be around each other, and so they have to spread out, it makes people, you may not see this from, like the ivory towers of your law school, but it makes actual people in this country
when
feel
the
like,
president calls
you don't get to interrupt me on this time. Now, let me also suggest that when you invoke the president's son's name here, when you try to make a little joke out of referencing Barron Trump, that does not lend credibility to your argument. It makes you look mean. It makes you look like you're attacking someone's family, the minor child of the president of the United States. So let's see if we can get into the facts. To all of the witnesses, if you have personal knowledge of a single material fact in the Schiff report, please raise your hand. And let the record reflect. No personal knowledge of a single fact. And you know what? That continues on the tradition that we saw from Adam Schiff, where Ambassador Taylor could not identify an impeachable offense. Mr. Kent never met with the president. Fiona Hill never heard the president reference anything regarding military aid. Mr. Hale was unaware of any nefarious activity with aid. Colonel Vindman even rejected the new Democrat talking point that bribery was invoked here. Ambassador Volker denied that there was a quid pro quo, and Mr. Morrison said there was nothing wrong on the call. The only direct evidence came from Gordon Sondland, who spoke to the President of the United States, and the President said, "I want nothing. No quid pro quo." And you know what? If wiretapping a political opponent's an impeachable offense, I look forward to reading that Inspector General's report, because maybe it's a different president we should be impeaching.
Oh, my goodness. And, amidst all this, Trump did a good job, another sales job, sold another $250 million worth of stuff, and Congress is not approving it, or they're dragging their heels or doing something else because they want.
They're going to get them find themselves in a heap of trouble if they start bucking the military-industrial complex when they're supposed to be the big supporters.
And again,
this is not going to bode well for them.
You remember Trump said at some point, we had a clip, he was talking about the never Trumpers. He says in some way they're worse than Democrats who hate Trump, which is most of them. This whole Ukraine thing, again, I think it's so deep. I think it's so corrupt. There was so much money in the round robin, boomerang where we give them money, except we don't really give it to them. We turn around and say, hey, who's got something we can sell these guys? Here's the money. The never Trumpers must be the Republicans who are in on the deal. Why else would you be so anti and so angry about this one little country, which is not our, this is not the firewall between Russia.
There were Nazis in World War II.
It's like, it must be so bad, because why else would you roll out all of these people to just embarrass themselves? The whole thing is embarrassing.
Well,
it's a shit TV show. That's what's the most embarrassing. That is un-American.
It's bad.
Un-American.
I agree with that. Let's play a couple of short, few-second clips. This is the impeachment snippet from Doug Collins. It sums
it up very simply like this. Just 19 minutes after noon on Inauguration Day 2017, the Washington Post ran the headline, "The campaign to impeach the president has begun."
Yeah. We knew that.
19 minutes.
Yeah, we knew that.
Yeah, that's a clip that we love that. And it's around, that little picture, that article's still floating around. Yeah. And then he continues with this little gem.
Mark Zadd, who would later become the attorney for the infamous whistleblower, tweeted in January 2017, "The coup has started. The impeachment will follow ultimately." And in May of this year, Al Green says if we don't impeach the president, he'll get re-elected.
Yes.
That pretty much summarizes
sums it up. Yeah. Now, are they doing something again?
They do have to wait. I do have one last clip, which was, since we're going to balance this a little bit, let's have Nadler.
Mm-hmm.
And this hearing's to Nadler, and he's got a little. There's a little piece of history in here, I believe. This is the right clip. I want you to see if you can identify it. Go.
I'm trying to identify the clip that you're talking about.
Says in hearings to Nadler BS.
I got it.
2016, the Russian government engaged in a sweeping and systematic campaign of interference in our elections. In the words of Special Counsel Robert Mueller, quote, the Russian government perceived it would benefit from a Trump presidency and worked to secure that outcome, close quote. The president welcomed that interference. We saw this in real time when President Trump asked Russia to hack his political opponent. The very next day, a Russian military intelligence unit attempted to hack that political opponent.
What was I missing here?
Well, the thing is he said that Trump asked them to.
Oh, this story. It was a joke. It started as a joke.
He also has, unfortunately, I don't have this one. I thought I clipped it out. But he says, I'll go back and dig this up because it's pretty funny. It's another gaffe of fact. But I can't find it on here. All right, I'm good.
All right, let's do a quick 2020 overview before we take our first break.
All right.
There are a couple of things happening. Now, we did discuss briefly Joe's bus.
Yes, we did talk about the Malarkey tour.
The Malarkey tour. And I bring this up in context of a question that we asked producers on the previous show. He said, what was it that got you hooked on No Agenda? You take a couple listens, and we got some interesting responses. Most of them way too long to read on the show, but very thoughtful. And the one I liked very much was from Angela Brown, who I'll read a little bit of this because it does kind of play into this. I started listening to NA in January 2017. My father passed away at the age of 70, and you read our donation note in his memory on episode 901. I had to listen to the show in order to hear it right away. I liked your voices and the back and forth you and John have. I'd listened to NA occasionally when visiting my brother, and he repeatedly tried to hit me in the mouth over the years. I didn't listen because I already had a full roster of podcasts in my feed. This is, of course, a problem, John. We got to realize that people have a roster of podcasts. So I didn't think I could fit in an additional 6 hours a week. Like you're so busy. My brother was successful with his attempts to hit my father in the mouth, and I will say that when we visited him in the hospital that last month of his life, he would always have his headphones on, listening to No Agenda, chuckling and smiling much of the time. That's beautiful. After he passed away, I decided to finally give NA a try for real and see what it was that kept him entertained and what my brother kept going on about. At first, I did not get it either. There were a lot of inside jokes and acronyms, sayings, and clips that went right over my head. I felt a little out of it because everyone seemed to be in on the jokes except me. But I loved the funny, catchy jingles and your and John's rapport. What impressed me the most, though, was that you truly did not seem to have an agenda. Mind blown. Now, etc., etc. And I realized that this is a common thread or a common thing amongst people, that it's the jingles and the song parodies and our funny things that really draws the newbies in. So I think it's probably a good idea to do more of that in the beginning of the show. You know what I mean?
I don't know how much more we can do because the whole beginning of the show is one big jingle.
Well, I mean stuff like, if we're talking about Joe's bus, then maybe we play something like this.
Oh, Biden's got a big old bus, and right there on the side it says, no malarkey. A nibbling on the fingers guy, a tough guy, because right there on the side it says, no malarkey. Well, you'd think that he would stop, give it up, but he keeps on going, never gonna be president, but he keeps on going, why?
Woo! Yeah, we should play that.
No malarkey.
And I've concluded that we're right. Somebody on Joe's campaign absolutely hates him. Wants him to look like an idiot, wants him to fail. You can go to any branding company, you can go to any marketing firm. None of them will ever suggest you name it the No Malarkey Tour in 2019. Ever.
This coincides with your other with the continued thesis,
yes,
which is when we hear all these clips of him sounding like he's in a bucket, where he's mic'd with the poorly mic'd. I mean, they do this on purpose, or he's up against the mic, distorting everything.
Yeah.
It's possible.
I think it's sabotage.
Agents provocateurs, they exist. I mean, there's plenty of them within the Trump organization that hate him.
It's got to be. It's got to be. I mean, it's so wrong. It's just wrong. I mean, it makes no sense. You can talk to anyone. It's like, who decided that was a good idea? It might have been funny in the 80s. Yeah, in the 80s it would have worked. Maybe early 90s, but probably not. It was already toast by then. But no, I don't know.
I think it would have been better. Joe Biden, dope.
Big dope.
Dope tour.
So then we had, this is kind of cute. This is from World Free Beacon. What is that? The Free Beacon people. They do the supercuts. Yeah, Free Beacon. They do the supercuts. They did a supercut of Kamala Harris leaving the campaign and what the mainstream media. And for those of you who are new to the show, you would say MSM, mainstream media, but we speak hacksaw, so we say M5M. In case you were wondering what that was. Because the 5 is an S on a calculator upside down in high school. So they put together a little compilage. They put some music under it, which I always find it's too bad.
Annoying.
Really. Yeah, it's annoying because, first of all, it could have been a better song. It just isn't cut in nicely, but you'll get the idea.
And she is a great candidate.
I think she's a great candidate, and I think that
you can't say she ran a great race.
Well, I can, and I did say.
Of course, you're rooting for the sister that's running for president, right?
Really, the first major candidate to drop out of the race.
Rising star, a real threat to President Trump. She kind of got inside his head.
I thought she checked all the boxes.
I remember on your show, she was just extraordinary.
She is genuine. She is warm.
I love her.
She's sparkling.
She brings a remarkable passion.
It's a bittersweet moment. I think it's a high integrity move on her part.
She is a very young and talented political figure.
Kamala Harris looks like the future of the Democratic Party.
Kamala Harris, the telegenic California senator.
I think she's a better candidate now than she was when she started.
I do think that women are still held to different standards as candidates.
It's tough to be a black woman in politics.
They have to be perfect on the stump, which I never saw her stumble. Was she treated badly by the press? I mean,
I think she was definitely treated badly by the press.
She got pummeled by, sexism. Pete Buttigieg, like a lot of white guys, evaluated on his potential. She's evaluated based on her resume and her daily performance.
There you go. It was sexism and racism from the Democrats, apparently, that got Kamala kicked out of the race.
Not that she was an idiot,
or that she had no platform or no program
no
or
platform,
no
had
talking
to
points.
Say, laugh too much.
Hi. That's my Kamala impression. I think I'm doing pretty good with that.
That's pretty good.
Sir Kevlar sent me a note. He said we missed an important piece of the Bloomberg clip that I played of him and Fifi Lagarde talking about taxing the poor. Because, it's taxes or death, basically. That was his was his reasoning. Is like, we have to have tax.
You're taxed for your good health.
Yes, we have to tax you, otherwise you will eat wrong, slave. But he actually said something. He used a common phrase, and I think the truth came out in what he was really saying.
But the comparison is a life or a job, or taxes or life. Which do you want to do? Take your poison.
The phrase is pick your poison, but he apparently just wants him to take poison regardless. Take your poison, slaves. Just take it. Poison. Just take a poison. Yeah, that's what he's saying. Elite. Huh. That guy's at zero chance.
Oh, yeah. I know, but he's going to throw a bunch of money at the network, so no one's going to tell him this until he's spent,
a
couple $100 million.
This clearly has to just...
Shh, don't say anything. The money's
don't let him know.
By the way, I will say this. Those ads are running here.
In California?
Tons of them.
Mm.
I see a
That's interesting.
Bloomberg ad probably twice a day.
Yeah, that tells me that it's meant to wreak havoc on what's going on. I still think that it's very possible that come convention time, I don't even know when it is, there will not be a single candidate that can lock up enough Democratic delegates or super delegates or whatever they're called to actually get the nomination. If you throw in a Bloomberg, who apparently is throwing the money into the Democratic pool in California, then that must be the whole plan must be to screw it up. To bring, to pave the way for the swoop, my friend. Because,
we'll see.
Well,
she was on Howard Stern the other day. Coughing again.
I listened to the Stern interview. It was uninteresting. It was so unlike Stern of the old days. I mean, he could not have been far enough up her butt crack. I mean, it was quite sad.
It was pathetic. And we've talked about Stern before as being a great interviewer.
Yeah.
In this case, all he was doing was yakking.
Fell down flat. There was so much that he could have talked about, and so much he could have gotten into with Hillary, but he didn't, or at least not in the Stern way. It was clear, So okay, he loves her, fine, great, but watch out. She spread her wings and went in for the swoop on the Graham Norton show in the UK.
And where are you? Are you saying, forget me? Is that your mantra now?
Not yet.
Yes! Because the rumor mill is flying that you could step back into the ring.
Yeah, I hear that. I especially have been deluged in the last few weeks.
Deluged
with thinking about doing that. But right now, I'm not.
Whoa. She said, I didn't even hear this the first time. What did she just say?
Been deluged in the last few weeks with thinking about doing that. But
that's interesting.
She's been deluged. Hold on.
Yeah.
What she said
you
was
hear it
she's
too.
Been deluged with thinking about it. In other words, she's been deluging herself.
Yes, that's exactly what she's saying.
Yeah, I hear that. I especially have been deluged in the last few weeks with thinking about doing that. But
you're so right. She's deluging herself.
Right now, I'm not at all. Planning that. I'd have to make up my mind really.
Ice bucket challenge.
Wait. Listen to this.
Thinking about doing that. But right now, I'm not at all, planning that. I'd have to make up my mind really quickly.
Again, with the got to make up my mind. I'd have to make up my mind really quickly. No, you don't. You just wait for the convention. I think it's planned. I think it's going down.
Because it's moving very fast.
But what's moving very fast? What? Listen again.
Planning that. I'd have to make up my mind really quickly because it's moving very fast.
What's moving really fast? There's messages in here.
Yeah, the deadlines. She's got deadlines.
Okay.
But I do want to continue to influence the debate.
Right.
I'm not leaving, the political arena completely. I'm working really hard to, make it clear that we have to hold our current leadership accountable. So I'm on Twitter. I'm not as I think clever as Chelsea is at, dealing with a lot of the undercurrents of Twitter. But I'm out there all the time, sort of pointing out some of the foolishness and craziness that we are currently experiencing. So, I'm not going anywhere. I just don't know what role I will be actually in.
Leaving it open. Yeah, everyone, still leaving it open. It makes so much sense. Wherever she is, whenever, and this is England, of course, but whenever she says, "Oh, no, I'm not ruling it out," everyone goes wild. They will jump on it. They will love her. She will be the savior.
She has to come in. Here's the way I'm looking at it. She has to. She's not going to do Iowa, and she's not going to do New Hampshire, and there's no reason to do either one of those. And she might as well say, the old rule is, well, every president since Cleveland has won either Iowa or New Hampshire. It's not important. You can easily.
I'm sorry. I need to correct you. It's not important.
It's not. Yeah. It's just not. And she knows this. The times have changed. Super Tuesday is really the big day that everyone has to worry about. But she could make an impact immediately by getting on the South Carolina ballot. So you'd have Buttigieg is going to win Iowa. That's the way that everyone thinks. And it's either going to be Warren, but probably Bernie will win New Hampshire. Now,
Right.
neither one of those two are going to be the president, and even if Warren wins, because there's too many forces against them. And in fact, there's forces against almost everybody except Hillary. And so Hillary can see this and say, well, this doesn't, I'm going to run in South Carolina because she's a big favorite in South Carolina because the South Carolinians love Bill. And so she'd run in South Carolina and win, get immediate momentum for Super Tuesday, sweep that pretty much, probably take about half or more than half of the various elections, and she'd be good to go.
But why even bother with that?
She can't wait till the convention.
Why not?
It's risky.
But
it's risky, and it looks sleazy.
Yeah,
she didn't run in one.
Is it any sleazier than what they did to Bernie in 2016? Is it any sleazier? The whole Democratic National Committee had to resign. It was so sleazy.
It's clippity-clop.
The message is clear.
Just clippity-clop.
I hope she comes back. Oh, how good would that be for the show? Oh, I pray for her to step back in. Everyone's a loser in this gig right now. No one's a winner. Everyone knows it.
Yeah, it's why they're trying to impeach Trump. It's their last best hope.
And with that, I'd like to thank you for your courage and say in the morning to you, the man who put the C's in the Electrical College, John C. Dvorak.
Well, in the morning to you, Mr. Adam Curry. In the morning to all ships at sea, feet in the air, subs in the water, all the dames and knights out there.
Yes, in the morning to the trolls in the chat room. Hi there, trolls. NoAgendaStream.com. It was great listening to Darren O's pre-stream this morning. It never ceases to amaze me when he ends, we switch over, I pick up the stream from here. I mean, there's something magical about it that I could only wish for as a young radio pronunciator. I love it very much. And you should check it out, noagendastream.com. Lots of fellow trolls hanging out there in the troll room. Also, in the morning to Darren O'Neill. He is the man who brought us the artwork. I think, is this the second time in a row? He's already had hat tricks. No, it's not. Oh, that's right. We had data before that. Well, he brought us art for episode 1195. The title of that was the Iranahams. And we didn't even see it the first time. I think we had to look at the art several times before we saw the Blackboard No Agenda Computer 101 dropping the T. Nice touch.
That's actually what made it work.
That totally made it work. And you don't see it right off the bat. Your eye sees computer, then you look at it like, I see what you did there. And that was hands down the best one, and we appreciate that, Darren O'Neill and everybody else.
Well, there were some competitors, but it was definitely the one.
Oh, it was once we saw the drop T, it was a shoe-in. It was easy for us.
Yeah, we were actually going with the pre-extinction art of Larry Dane.
Yes,
I was promoting it.
Yeah. Until we saw the drop T on the Blackboard. It was good. It was a good piece. Very nice piece. And also nice the way he did the chalk font. It was good. Top notch. This is what the value for value system is about. Bring it and bring more of that, Darren. Thank you. NoAgendaArtGenerator.com. That's where you can find all of the art submissions for the pre-stream, and a lot of these go onto T-shirts and mugs at NoAgendaShop.com. And we're waiting for more people to come up with some innovative ideas what to do with this fabulous artwork. NoAgendaArtGenerator.com. On this program, we have listeners, but we call them producers because they actually do produce the show, not just with clips. And thank you again for those of you who have sent in clips, but also deep knowledge of certain topics. We have experts in almost every field, and I mean almost every field that I can think of. But we also have producers who sustain us with their finances. And about this time in the show, just like Hollywood, we like to highlight our executive and associate executive producers, in this case for episode 1196.
Indeed. And we like to start with, seems to be coming in constantly. Here's Sir Dave Fugazotto, Earl of America's Heartland and Saudi Arabia.
Wow.
$353 and a dime. And he writes in a note, which I actually have a printout of. Dearest Leo and Tolstoy, greetings. In the tradition of the NA numerology, today's donation is the summation of dates to celebrate Dame Melody and my anniversary 6th December, and Dame Isabella's birthday is 7th December.
Oh, nice.
Did she get on the birthday list? I think so.
Yes, I believe so.
Added into the donation amount is a thrice of $333.33 for some travel karma. So you have to put that up. Mm-hmm. I'm flying back on Friday from a tour of the continental holdings of my earldom. Unfortunately, Dame Melody will be in Austin when I get back, and following a brief reunion, she jets off to Budapest, or as they like to say, Budapest and Bucharest, for the international part of her master's program.
Wow.
We will reunite as a family in Mainz in a few weeks. After spending almost 5 years there, it is a special place for us all, and where I finally divorced Twit, hitched my wagon under the No Agenda show, and never looked back. After a few days of Gutenberg City, I returned to the kingdom with my dames in tow to celebrate another workday known as the 25th of December. It's the local fave. They'll be spending the winter break with me, enjoying the festive Riyadh season until having to head back to manage the heartland. My amygdala says hi. And thanks for all the great deconstruction. Please send me a random Rev Manning and a wee bit of goat karma for all the upcoming travels. Jeez. Talk about being on the road.
You know, we had dinner. The keeper and I had dinner with Sir Dave, the Earl of America's Heartland in Saudi Arabia, and Dame Melody and Dame Isabella. And I got to tell you, Isabella is, I don't know, what is she, 13? 12, 13? This young woman, she'll be Secretary of State or something one day. She is so well traveled, so well versed, knows how to hang out with boring adults. They're doing her a very interesting service with this traveling and exposing her to all these different cultures and people. I'm excited to see what becomes of her.
Huh. Well, good. I'm sure it's a fun group to hang out with.
Yeah, and when they come back to Austin, when it all works out, we look forward to yet another dinner.
Go ahead and boom shakalaka, brother!
And here's the Go Karma.
You've got karma.
Yes, the troll room says quite correctly that it may be true, but you've got to keep her away from Uncle Joe. Yes, this is true. So we'll make sure she goes nowhere near Joe.
Onward with Sir Roy Pierce in Fort Pierce, Florida, 334. We have a note from him, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
$334. This is a very funny note, by the way. This is an unusual note. This is not the kind of note most guys send in. I've tried different Linux distros twice a year for a decade.
Oh boy.
All have loaded and run as described. None survived their first update. Mint was the worst. All 4 user interfaces vanished. Universal forum advice was to return to the Windows because Linux is for those folks proficient with the Linux console. My problem is not so much with Linux as it is with the assholes that use it. Roy.
All right. Couple things. I actually had an issue with my Linux.
What?
Yeah, I know. Well, what happened was something ran over. Well, a couple of things, but I had this running on several machines at the same time, the same install, and they all broke. They wouldn't boot up, and things were breaking. I couldn't figure it out, and so I posted a link on noagendasocial.com and on twitter.com. Now, No Agenda Social, immediately, dude's name Ben, like, okay, try this, do a Control Alt F1, get into the command line, and I did, and that's how I found out quite quickly that my drive had filled up. And of course, when your drive is full, then I can't create temp files. And so, okay, I understand the problem there. On Twitter, I got that. Switch back to the Mac. Upgrade to Windows 10. You should have tried Mint, like the Vortex said. It's like, work on your material, people. By the way, I blocked every single one of those people who did that. I'm so tired of the amateur comedians. When I'm actually asking for some help, then it's like...
Put a time code for that one.
Yeah. It was just, oh man, I can't believe people are so mean. But I also figured out, I know why we like Linux. It's obvious. Our show is the Linux of podcasting. It's the same problem. Takes a while to get into it. You got to try it a couple times. Over the years, it's worked better. The quality of the work is really we're downstream from everything, so we have to get good mainstream clips. We are the Linux of podcasts. I'm telling you, that's why we attract these kinds of people, and I'm proud of that. Well, Roy definitely was irked. Does Roy want a karma for that, or just wants to move on? I would give him one just anyway. I think so too.
You've got karma.
So coming in as our last executive producer, Stephanie Bell, who does not have a note. She's in Great Britain. Could not find an email from her under Stephanie anything or Bell anything. So if she has something to tell us, I hope she sends it in somehow and that we can identify it in the email stream. Yeah, I'm looking now. I don't see anything either, so I don't know what happened. Came in at $333, and I would just throw some karma out for her. Okay.
You've got karma.
Jim Bennett in Toronto, Ontario, 23456. Adam, he says. Adam, yes. ITM, Adam. ITM. It has been exactly 1 year since I lost my dad. I'm sorry to hear about your own dad's passing. I hope your family's doing okay. Unrelated, I'm certain I qualified for a knighthood a few donations ago, but wanted to note that if you cease using the term Scandinavia, this will be my last contribution. Right. Okay. So we had love the show. Don't cave to haters. No jingles, no karma. I'm confused now. We had a Canadian citizen say that if I ever use that term again, he'd unsubscribe. Yeah. Well, Jim Bennett is at 23456 in Toronto, Ontario. If somebody ups the ante, you'll reconsider. But from now on, it's still Scandinavia. I agree. I think Scandinavia is in. The Scandinavians seem to be fine with it. And thank you very much, Jim. Thank you. Yes. And then Zachary McLean comes in next at Cottage Grove, Minnesota Nuts. 200. It's not a big group today. Thanks to the WATP for mentioning the show. Wait, WATP? Thanks to WATP for mentioning the show. What's WATP? I have no idea. Well, apparently, this got Zachary to listen. Yeah. I started listening 2 weeks ago. He's already donating. Love John C. Dvorak on CNET and Tech TV. Wow. Excellent. Not many people have seen you on CNET, but you did a great job, apparently. Yeah. I was doing my CD-ROM reviews there. Twin Cities check-in. De-douche him census by request only. Wink. All right.
You've been de-douched.
I hope to keep giving you love. Okay. I'm a little stumped. WATP. It must be a podcast. Since it ends in a P. Oh, who are these podcasts? Oh, okay. Who are these podcasts? Yeah, that's a very good podcast.
We were on Who Are These Podcasts?
No, we were highlighted in one of their shows.
That's what I'm saying. We were on it. They highlighted us. When did they do this?
It was a while ago.
Huh.
But I guess he just listened to it 2 weeks ago. I don't know. Maybe recently again. I've listened to that on and off quite a bit, actually, that show, because it's very, although sometimes they go off with less high quality podcasts.
And that's hard to imagine because there's so much high quality out there. I can't imagine.
Somebody said there's something like 700,000 podcasts
this week.
Is that the number?
This week, yes. Of which 100,000 will be gone in 2 weeks. Of course.
Well, a lot of people can't keep up the pace.
Well, thanks to those guys out there. That's,
Yeah, that's a good podcast. I would recommend listening to it.
I used to do that show on Sirius. We'd be promoting all the podcasts, and we'd play little bits of them for 2 hours a day until they saw the danger. Yeah, it's this is probably not a good idea to be promoting this. Yeah, we're going to do our own thing eventually.
This is no good.
Yeah, can't do this. Yeah.
Anyway, our last associate executive producer is Glenn Bukowski. Actually, he calls himself a dude named Glenn Bukowski from Sarasota, Florida. And he comes in at $200 and has a note.
Okay.
He wrote in. It's a real note because you can hear that. After my last donation, John requested that I report back with the results of the Trump jobs karma I received. The jobs karma worked well. And I am now working in a much better dude named Ben job with a significantly higher pay. Over 3 years ago, I hit my friend Chris Cervellera, that's it, in the mouth, and he has become an avid listener of the show, but on the house. Please call him out as a douchebag.
Douchebag. Alrighty then.
Don't be shy, guys. I hit him again. I would like that double down on the first Trump-only jobs karma that you played for me, which contains clapping at the end. Please also play John Brennan's Guilty Until Alleged and Slave Meat Can Eat Macaroni and Cheese. Now, see, this is the problem. Oh, by the way, I'll finish this before I make my comment. Thanks again for all your hard work and for providing the best podcast in the universe. I don't know. I mean, we have a variety of Trump jobs karmas.
Yes.
Now, this one he said has clapping at the end.
Yeah, I know which one he means.
Okay, so you know which one he means.
Mm-hmm.
So that's probably the only one we should use because it's been proven.
No, I don't think so. First of all, it's nowhere is dynamic. It's very low energy. And unless it's specifically requested, which appears to double your income, apparently, I'm going to stick with the classic. I would not just do that all of a sudden. That's not a good idea.
This one, you're going to play him his favorite, though.
Yes, I'm going to play his favorite, and first I'm going to play Brennan.
People are innocent until alleged to be involved in some type of criminal activity.
Jobs.
You've got karma.
Told you. It's very low energy, but it must have some secret spark going on somewhere.
Maybe it creates a low pressure zone of karma. I think it sucks it right in there.
Pressure zone of karma. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Want to thank all these folks. These are our associate executive producers for show 1196. And want to remind people, we do have another show coming up on Sunday. Adam will still be in Holland, and we'll be doing it from there.
Yes, and thank you to these executive producers and associate executive producers. You've scored that credit, and you can use it anywhere that credits are recognized even. LinkedIn, and everyone seems to be using it for the jobs karma. LinkedIn is the place to be. That's where these things pay off. But you can also, and I like seeing that on Twitter. People put in their profile description. And if I see that, I'm going to follow you. John's going to follow you, which will do something. Hopefully it'll
add 2 followers.
Make me more visible if I follow more people. I'm so suppressed on Twitter. My own partner, who I've been doing a show with for 12 years, doesn't even get my tweets. Olive Theory.
This is true, by the way.
Yeah, it's quite annoying.
I get about when you this is only recent where it's been. Usually the show tweet has always gone into my feed, which it should since I follow you. But more recently, I've only been getting every other show tweet, and then I complain about it.
Yeah, and I can see it happening because I tweeted out, and I think on the last show where you had this issue, it took a good 10, 15 minutes before I got a retweet. So I know that it's being pushed away. It's fine, yeah. Whatever. I do have a couple of I have a make good here. This is from Sir Arrow, Knight of the Naughts, and he said, "Thank you for all what you and John do. I've heard you say on multiple shows, this note is from a knight, so we need to read it." Yes, we do that. We do that frequently. You can imagine how disappointed I, a knight, was when the note I wrote about my smoking hot wife becoming a dame was not read. I pulled it up and shared it with her after the donation segment, so no need to cover it now. As the only new entrant to the round table for the Thanksgiving show, she was very honored and excited to become a dame. She appreciates what No Agenda does for the greater good, and I apologize. We missed it. We absolutely do read notes from knights, so I will read the relevant part of your Thanksgiving Day message. My donations from the credit union allowed me to reach knighthood a couple of years back, and I now see that I have reached the baronet level. However, I would rather bestow a damehood upon my smoking hot wife. I now believe that couples that are able to recognize the torrents of BS coming at them, no matter what source it is coming from, are much happier than couples stuck only in dimension A or B. Calling out someone on TV as a liar is much more fun when done in unison with your spouse. The love of my life simply wishes to go by the title of Dame Kitty. She got that, and she also had her cookies and Kahlua at the round table. Thank you very much, Sir Arrow, Knight of the Naughts. And then we had a special emergency health karma from Sir Kilgore Trout of the Dude's Name Ben. So another night note that we will read. I've been enrolled in the $4 a week program for a while now, but I'm sending this quick note to ask for some karma for my younger brother. Chris just learned he's scheduled for surgery this Friday morning after being on a wait list for 6 months. The estimated 9-hour procedure is to treat acoustic neuroma, a non-cancerous growth on the cranial nerve. He'd been keeping his diagnosis quiet until deciding on the surgery earlier today. Brain surgery can always use a good dose of no agenda karma. Good luck, Chris. Thanks for continuing to bring us the best podcast in the universe, from Sir Kilgore Trout of the Dude's Name Ben. And we're going to throw in a special goat twist for his brother there.
You've got karma.
Never underestimate the power of the karma. And if you want to support the program in our Value for Value network, all you have to do is go to the following website,
Dvorak.org/NA.
And remember, it's always Scandinavian until it isn't.
Our formula is this. We go out, we hit people in the mouth. Order! Order! Shut up, slave.
Shut up, slave.
Where were you, kid? Been waiting for you. Shut up, slave. I was watching some Australian television, and there's a very interesting transsexual in Australia who is saying some things that are very unpopular with the trans activist community, which often consists of people who are not trans at all. And it's very consistent with things we've heard from the official No Agenda tranny, Ali Jade. And I wanted to share this interview because this Katie McGregor, you might have seen her. She used to be Malcolm McGregor, and I think she transitioned when she was even in the armed forces. Have you seen her around? Do you know what I'm talking about? She's a sports writer.
I do not, but I'm going to look her up.
Yeah, so she's a sports writer, writes about cricket, freelance sports writer, and was kicked off of pretty much every writing job she had when she said things about the trans community similar to what to the clips I'm going to play here. But being a trans woman, I thought it was interesting to listen to her take, as she is much more in line, I think, with the way you and I think about particularly the transitioning of children at very, very early age. And we'll start with kind of her stance about the trans activist community.
The ABC, you were a poster girl for the ABC. They appeared to have dropped you. The trans movement, you tweeted and made many comments that they regard as heretical. They've dropped you.
Very happy to be at war with the trans movement, by the way. I think they're dangerous. I think some of the ideology they're purporting to stand for is sinister. And frankly, it's at odds with what a lot of trans people think. Frankly, this unelected cabal don't speak for plenty of trans people who are quite conservative. I happen to be religious, a believer in God. I have a lot of trans friends who are the same. But this cabal, mainly based out of Victoria, where half of them are on the payroll of the Andrews government, they are the voice of transgenderism in Australia, and they speak for no one but themselves. But some of what they stand for is appalling, and I'm no longer Flavour of the Month at the ABC. I was dumped with no explanation last year as a cricket commentator. I tweeted today, I have been on Sky 5 times in the last fortnight. I have been on the ABC once this calendar year, and I did that purely because I wanted to meet Jordan Peterson. I haven't been on the ABC for 12 months.
So the ABC, I didn't know they say it that way. The ABC is clearly anti-trans, at least this trans woman, because if you're not towing the trans line, then you get ostracized. And now let's dive into the kids issue.
What do you make of children, school kids, being pushed into hormone therapy or even surgery by teachers and doctors and parents? Where do you think the line should be drawn?
I think there are some misperceptions on this. Unless I'm missing something, I don't believe children are eligible for surgery. I think kids at 13 or thereabouts are entitled to get hormone blockers, providing they have a medical diagnosis, and I think that's appropriate, providing there's medical and parental involvement. I am more sceptical, and I, as you know, I opposed the Safe Schools program when it came out. There's some stuff on gender fluidity, and the point that Rita made earlier. There are two genders, male and female. I am a transsexual. I am not a woman. I can't live comfortably as a male. I arrived at that decision very painfully. But in my view, there are two genders. There are not 52 genders. I just don't get where this nonsense is coming from. And it's being peddled in schools, and I think it's dangerous. But I don't want for a moment to be seen to impede legitimate medical treatment for kids who are suffering genuine discomfort about their gender. They should get the best care that's available, namely psychiatric intervention, and at a certain point, providing they are genuinely transgendered and have dysphoria, then they should be given appropriate medical support. But surgery shouldn't happen before 18, and I'm sure it doesn't.
Yes. So all of that is apparently an issue.
You already said there at the end?
Yeah, he says, I think it doesn't. Well, it does. Maybe not in Australia, but it does in the United States, or at least that's what we're led to believe.
Yeah.
So that was not, like, yes, nice. Please, just say it. Just say, yeah.
Nobody can do that.
But
the 52, 72, I thought was the gender number. I think he's off by 20.
Uh-oh, breaking news. Oh. I just got a text from President Trump. This is on. Now, I have ignored all of the, they keep wanting $100. Now I've been moved down to another category. I shall read it to you. Oh, gosh, this is great. There's so much here. I can't even keep track of how many there are. Here, this is the latest. Oh, shoot. It just passed by. Hold on. The OTG phone has
to... It's like a comedy act.
It is. I have to scroll through all... Do you know how many messages I get from the Trump campaign on a daily basis with all the matching? It's another match, except I just scrolled through.
Oh, they're going to match. Oh, they're going to match.
You see, finance update. President Trump asked you where your donation was. Don't let him down in this impeachment fight. Donate in the next hour for a 3 times match. But now wait, here's
by who? By what? How?
Yeah, here's the next one. This is today. President Trump, first quid pro quo, then bribery, now treason? They are liars and frauds. Let's end this scam. Donate $35 now. They're really trying, aren't they? They went from a 200 to 100 and now it's 35.
Yeah, your next step is going to be chip in $3.
I'm going to get kicked off the list if I don't watch myself.
Yeah, well, the 35 is too high. Wait until the chip in comes. If you chip in at the $3 level, they'll jack you back up to the next level and then maybe give it another shot.
I don't respond to messages like this. And besides, I only donate to campaigns to get on the list, and I'm on the list.
I would like you to do something.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not on that list. I'm on the Yang list.
Would you like me to sign you up?
No, God, no.
People do that to me all the time.
I don't know why anyone would do something like that. So here's what I'd like you to do.
All right.
I'd like you to send a note back, miffed, saying that you gave more than this before, and now you're saying to me that I haven't, because they don't track any of this.
No.
At any real level.
No. Of course not.
They track probably some big. Yeah, if you're dropping $1,000, they're going to be tracking you. But you're down there. You're not going to be tracked. So you can go say, I gave you $100 last time, and now you're telling me I didn't give anything. What's wrong with you?
Okay,
see what happens.
It's probably as effective as me tweeting back at the coffee machine, telling them I thought they were assholes. Yeah, it didn't reply to me either. So unless you put the word stop in there somewhere, you don't get a reply from these systems. But I will try it. I will try it. I'll try it after the show, of course. Anything for the show, John. Anything.
I have there's a clip that was on Democracy or Deutsche Welle. Been saving this clip because I'm going to ask you about this because I don't know. Are dogs really valuable in Europe?
Some dogs, I guess.
Well, here, play this black market dogs clip.
Dogs like these can bring in lots of money. Dealers are trying to peddle a puppy in Berlin. We recorded the attempt on a hidden camera.
Oh, but she's cute. Where is she from?
Animal welfarist Stefan Kildepstein, seen here on the left, witnesses scenes like this almost daily. He finds suspicious ads on the internet and alerts the police. The illegal trade in dogs is a multi-billion euro business.
This is another typical ad. The dog's presented by itself on a sofa and has bad eye inflammation. A respectable dog breeder would never present his dog like that. And the €500 price is way too cheap. From a regular breeder, it would cost from 1,000 to 1,200 euros.
Oh yeah, the purebred dogs, they go for that kind of money. Sure, this makes nothing but sense that they are all over this in Europe, because dogs are people too. We have human trafficking, now we have dog trafficking.
Dogs are people too.
Now they have most of these dogs apparently being sold in Germany by in the gray market, black market.
German Shepherds.
No. Oh. There's strays that they bring over from Romania and Poland. They find a bunch of stray dogs. They just load them up and bring them into Germany.
Or they patch them up, shave them a little bit, and sell it as a thoroughbred. Sure.
$500. That's the steal, according to, I guess.
The dogs are people too meme is seeping into people's brains, though. It's people really equate dogs with human beings. This is a local news report. Warning everybody that we must be very careful with the holidays, particularly with our furried human friends, because they will eat your ornaments.
So this is Gatsby, and she is a potpourri of holiday trouble, most recently eating, what did you say?
15 apple centerpiece.
Here's the deal. It's the holidays. It's a dangerous time for pets. Today at 4 on First at 4, we have the information you need to enjoy the holidays and keep people like Gatsby, animals like Gatsby safe.
Yeah, she tried to save herself, but she said people like Gatsby. She called the dog a person.
Well, that's what she said. Yeah, you're right. People like Gatsby.
People like,
wow.
Yeah.
Here's the deal.
Here's the deal.
Dogs are people too.
Yeah, I know, Joe. Yeah, here's the deal. Okay. A cornucopia of teas. It's getting bad out there.
Teas?
Yes, as in tea dropping. I was watching
teas. Oh, yes. I thought you meant like PG tips.
No, teas. Dropping the teas. I was watching ESPN, as you know I often do.
I saw it. I had one the other day. I lost it. It was one of these. It was right in the middle of a good clip. I got to get that, and I couldn't find it again.
Oh, I have this one from Dan Orlovsky. You know him from ESPN, Dan?
Rings a bell, but I don't know him.
Well, here he comes.
I love you guys. You know why everyone gets so exhilarated when they climb Everest? Because it's the most difficult mountain to climb, right? To get to that peak.
Not anymore. I think there's other mountains.
Right. Thanks. But the Ravens have to go climb that mountain. I love Baltimore, but that's the biggest mountain this NFL has ever seen when it comes to organization. Jeez. Until someone...
Even the guy there said mountain, interrupted him and said mountain, and the guy doesn't take the clue and keeps going mountain.
He keeps saying mountain.
Mountain. Well, he's a quarterback. He's a former quarterback, so what do you expect? But this was surprising. A national advertisement for oil of Olay.
Is skincare from around the world better than Olay? To find out, Olay faced the world. We tested our vitamin B3 formula and beat Japan's top moisturizers, South Korea's most innovative, and even the $400 French cream. Olay Regenerist faced 131 premium products from 12 countries over 10 years. Olay's hydration was unbeaten every time. Olay, face anything.
No, you're doing a national spot.
Wow.
A national commercial.
Somebody paid her to say unbeaten.
And a lot of money. That's thousands of dollars. A national spot. That's a big ass deal. And then
over 10 years, Olay's hydration was unbeaten every time.
Unbeaten.
unbeaten. And she'll get residuals from that. She usually get $10
she'll
less.
Come away with $500,000.
Well, I don't know about that.
It's possible.
I think, but secondly, it's certainly in the 10 grand range if it airs a lot during the Christmas. But unbeaten. And someone in hey, that's great. It's a class.
This is the millennials that they're now permeated the agencies and the ad buys.
Oh, and they're all down with it.
Yeah, they're
totally down with it. Oh man.
Yeah, we're doomed.
Yeah. I've been corresponding with one of our homeless producers.
Yeah,
Gregory Jacobs. Yeah, he's in I think San Diego. The guy's,
if you're going to be homeless, that's the place to be.
The guy clearly is incredibly intelligent, like over the top, and he has a phone. He has an Obama phone, so he can send me messages. And there's some disturbing stuff. But then he sent me this one clip, which he recorded on his phone. It's a vocal fry from Gregory Jacobs. I just want you to have the same experience that I did. I'm like, oh, that should be interesting.
What's this for vocal fry?
Okie dokie. And you hear the cop car in the background. Oh, man. Gregory, be safe out there.
Well, that's a topper.
Not really.
Okay, let's see what we got on the clip list. How about going? I'm going to get a few of these out of the way. First of all, we never really did the update on the BBC Hong Kong election, so I got a two-parter here.
Good.
So Hong Kong elections BBC starter.
Okay.
Chinese government has responded to the landslide victory for pro-democracy candidates in the Hong Kong elections by emphasising that the territory will always be ruled from Beijing and has warned against further protests. Pro-democracy candidates won almost 90% of the seats in the local elections, and the result is being seen as an outright rejection of Carrie Lam's leadership and a massive show of support for the anti-Beijing protests that have been going on there for months. Our correspondent Rupert Wingfield-Hayes reports now from Hong Kong.
This is not the sort of media attention usually given to the winners of a local council election. But last night's victory for Hong Kong's Democrats was no ordinary win. It was an unprecedented landslide. These newly minted young politicians won 85% of all the seats contested.
Wow, I didn't hear anything about this. Of course.
Why not?
I'm sorry, what am I thinking? So what's going on with that? So they're changing the local government?
Yeah, it's not going to do much good. I mean, they also had that situation. The Chinese are ignoring this. Also the situation where they passed this bill and Trump finally signed off on it, condemning, the Chinese for not.
Now, this is the Uyghur Muslim bill, I think is what this is.
I don't know that.
Yeah,
it's possible.
Yeah,
but here's kind of the response to it. This is not sure where this came from. This China condemns Trump pro-Hong Kong laws.
Beijing is strongly criticizing bills on Hong Kong. China's foreign ministry firmly opposes them, accusing the U.S. of meddling in its domestic affairs. It says the move violates international law and the basic principles of international relations. And the Hong Kong regional government also criticized these bills that Trump signed into law. It said the move interfered in its internal affairs and damaged relations with the United States. The Hong Kong and Macau Affairs Office of China's State Council said the act severely violated international law and basic norms governing international relations. And the liaison office of the Central People's Government in Hong Kong also condemned the move, saying it was essentially supporting the actions of rioters and was an attempt to destabilize the region.
Oh, I now know where that clip came from.
Well, there's
China News Service.
Yeah, well, there's two bills. One was a resolution condemning the actions in Hong Kong, which is like, okay, it's a resolution which just says, we disagree. But this other one, I think they had in there provisions to stop Huawei from selling their stuffs to the United States. And I don't know if it's not a block, but there's some provision in there that I think certainly would be something that made China nervous about that. I mean, personally, I think you're absolutely right. And the reason why is we know what we did with Cisco. We know what's in the Cisco stuff. We're spying on everybody through the big routers, the big iron, the heavy metal. So, of course, we don't want China to do the same thing to us. That's
of course
all that it is.
That's the only reason you make such a fuss.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, they're not doing it to D-Link.
D-Link. That's what I put my Open WRT on, man.
On D-Link, yeah.
Yes, on D-Link, man. There was some other China stuff that I was tracking. Let's see. China bars U.S. military from Hong Kong ports over support for protesters. So that's a kind of... Yeah, here it is.
This is an offshoot story.
It was the Uyghur bill that the U.S. House passed, demanding sanctions over human rights abuses in Xinjiang camps. Do we know anything? I mean, I've heard about this. Everyone seems to be in universal agreement that it's happening. I've read stories about...
You've seen pictures.
I've seen pictures. I've heard stories that I'm wicked on the mic and on the two Tories. It's... I wonder how true it is. Is there really a camp in Uyghur province that has 1 million Muslims incarcerated in a kind of concentration camp? We know?
They're not doing a very good job of denying it.
But I'm still waiting for proof. I've only seen some stories and some pictures of the outside of a building. I wonder.
Well, I don't know what kind of proof you're going to be able to get out of China, especially of that particular facility. But you don't see them denying it, which seems to me to be the first step in it being a bunch of bull crap. Somebody had to say, no, it's not happening. Yeah, those are old barracks from World War II. They're not saying that.
Well, we have producers in China.
Yeah, but they're not going down in that part. That area is not a...
It's not a
pleasant
good
area.
Not a good vibe.
I mean, it's like going to. Well, it's not bad. I mean, it's like going into any.
Not a place to hang out.
Probably not, especially if you're nosing around.
We were also going to talk about Iran because we had some personal stories, and Iran is in the news in the Netherlands again today, as the Netherlands has joined INSTEX, INSTEX, the INSTEX, which is the European, I think it's, how many are on now there? I think let me see, Belgium, Denmark, Finland, Netherlands, Norway, Sweden, joining in with, I'm pretty sure, France, Germany, and the UK, who established INSTEX. And this is to combat the United States locking Iran out of the SWIFT payment network, which is pretty much the network for all payments international, at least certainly in dollar payments.
Maybe they can go. Maybe the Iranians can go to pop money.
Well, I mean, more egregious is the fact that these countries are doing it. You know, they are creating a shadow banking system with this, or shadow banking transfer system, and they were all kind of. If you recall, when we first reported on it, they were all kind of hedgy. Yeah. Well, we're just talking. We're getting it done. But now they've actually said they're going to do it, and by January 31st. It should be in full swing, and these countries will be doing trade with Iran, subverting the U.S. sanctions.
This is not going to stand.
I don't think so either. I think it's very, very bold.
That Trump was so irked about these meetings over there that nobody's covering this. I mean, we hear about it on our show. There's one only story going on around Iran. I do have a clip where they commandeered a vessel. And the clip is Iran caught smuggling weapons to Yemen.
The Pentagon says the U.S. warship has captured a vessel with missile parts believed to be linked to Iran. The seizure was made in the northern Arabian Sea, and the crew has been transferred to the Yemeni Coast Guard. Washington accuses Tehran of illegally smuggling arms to Houthi rebels fighting the Yemeni government.
Yeah, you got to do it legally like we do. You know, make a big deal out of it and sell it. And say, hey, we're selling to Saudi Arabia to go kill some people in Yemen. You got to do it with big fanfare.
Yeah, that's legit.
Now, the last time I was here, I had dinner with Lex Harding, who was my first boss, and we're still good friends. Amazing. And his wife is Iranian. They frequently go to Iran. In fact, he was locked out of coming to the United States for 10 years because he had been to Iran. And somehow he finagled enough with the embassy that they got a visa for the United States, which, forget the exact language, but it's something to the effect of you've received this permission as an exception to the proclamation. The proclamation being, I guess, the president's proclamation?
Well, I didn't know this. So you're telling me that because he he's a Dutch citizen, right?
Yes, he is, yes.
So he visits Iran, and now the U.S. won't let him in the country because he visited.
He went to get and this is 2 years ago, he went to get a visa, and they said, we see an Iranian stamp here in Tehran. Well, my wife is from Iran. She lives with me. She has a Dutch passport now. She's a dual citizen. And they said, sorry, you can't come into the United States. That is on the books right now. That is the proclamation, the immigration.
Well, how is this different than people bitching and moaning and groaning about the fact that if you go to Israel, they won't let you into Saudi Arabia if you got an Israeli stamp in your passport?
Well, I'm agreed. Not going to argue that. What was interesting is her telling me about, she has a little store there. I mean, the way it works is basically she's been supporting her entire family, which is quite vast, because the economy is completely dead. They were running a little rug shop or something that she had opened up, and the family was running it, and there's just no customers. There's no money. There's no food. It's really bad. And I don't think, I know that this is not. Is that me? Go away, you scammers. I don't think this is discussed or reported on at all, but these sanctions really are hurting the people of Iran, and it just keeps on going. And the news always just kind of, Iran this, Iran that. But there are a lot of people there who are in trouble because of these sanctions. I mean, it's really killing the country.
Well, that's kind of the idea of these sanctions, but it never works.
But it's warfare. I mean, if you hurt the people like that, it's war.
Yeah. Let's do the idea.
Okay.
The idea is that, well, if we put the clamps on this country and make everyone suffer, then they'll rise up against their rulers and and take over the place and make everything fine, and they'll like us.
We tried that.
We've tried it, and I think we just do it now out of sadism.
Okay. No, I don't want my name on that out of sadism. I'm not in on that.
I think it's sadism. It's just like, it's like watching the YouTube videos where some guy does something nasty and falls in a hole after that. There's some sadistic kind of a mindset that allows these things to go on.
Well,
I don't know.
I find it problematic.
They just want the whole country to dry up and blow away, I assume. It's not working. It's like the Cuba thing. It's the same thing.
Well, it's not working, and then we have this alternative payment network to make things work for them, and this is going to come to a head. And I really feel that the United States media is not even looking at it for whatever reason.
What do you mean for whatever reason?
Well, you'd think that the
Trump.
Oh, I'm sorry. Impeach, of course.
Jonesy Dvorak, Baker, Light Pride. Today's Teddy K, he's an OTG kind of guy.
OTG kind of guy, that's right. We got the OTGs on the No Agendas. And there is some news to report as the worldwide camera network is growing. With this, I specifically mean the Ring doorbell. Yep.
Your favorite.
Oh, yes. So now the province, or I should say the city of Gouda in the Netherlands, you might pronounce it as Gouda. It's where the cheese and the candles comes from.
I've been to that little town.
Oh, did you go to the cheese factory?
No, I just got off I was on the rail, and it said Gouda or whatever, how you were like. Gouda. And I said, wow, look at this. This is the place where they make the cheese. So I jumped off and wandered around the downtown little area. It's a very cute little town.
You didn't see any cheese?
And then I got on the train and went back. Toe tap.
Well, they are now subsidizing the inhabitants of Gouda with €250 if they install a Ring doorbell and take a subscription so that the cops can then see the recorded video.
Oh, I can see that, yeah.
So they are actually subsidizing the citizens. Yes.
Who would take the deal?
Everyone's taking the deal. Are you kidding? They love it. I mean, that's the cost of the whole thing. The Ring doorbell costs, what was it, $90, $100, and then you get
it free.
And then it's like, 20, it's like $40 a year for the subscription. Yeah. And now we just have the government of this fine town are just saying, oh, you know what? We'll just subsidize it. Then
it's a cheesy ploy.
We have from the ABC, Australian Broadcasting Corporation. It looks like they are moving quickly towards the microgrid idea by outfitting their customers with the so-called Peak Smart technology. Peak Smart. And this, I'm reading now from the ABC, it allows the electricity network company to send a signal that turns the air conditioning down for a short while during times of peak demand when the network is feeling the strain. We cycle down the compressor, which is what creates the cooling part of the air conditioner, says Peter Price, an executive general manager at Energy Queensland. It cycles down for 20 minutes. The fan still runs, blowing out cold air. Customers don't even know we've done it. But it pulls down the peak demand enough to make a difference. Mr. Casey got a rebate that covered about half the cost of installing the air conditioners, and he's a happy customer.
Everyone's happy.
Yeah. So that is the future, where you will give total control to your energy company so that they can then determine what temperature you have in your own home. And people are happy to do it.
Eventually Google owns it all.
Oh, yeah. Google's totally going to own it.
Now, while on the OTG segment, I do have a note to read.
Okay.
From producer Ken, who's written. I've gone back and forth with him on a couple of items. He's a ham.
Mm-hmm.
And so we went back and forth because he said, "Oh, you use a ham." I said, "You should too." And apparently, he's an old timer.
He's a nam.
A few weeks ago, he writes, while watching a PBS examination of the campfire debacle in California, I thought how critical it would have been for a couple of hams to get involved. Cell towers and phone lines had been liquefied.
Decimated.
A couple of decades ago in Los Angeles, I was a member of the LAPD Ham Watch. In wide areas of the valley north of downtown LA, LAPD officers could not communicate with dispatch on the other side of the mountain range. The bad guys figured that out, and officers were getting shot, and crime was skyrocketing.
Wow.
An officer who patrolled that area had a ham license and fired up his rig whenever he was in a bind.
Wait a minute. You got to read that again. But he fired up his rig. Come on, man. Put a little heart into it.
His rig.
Yeah. Fired up his
rig.
rig.
His butt a couple of times. He suggested it in the chain, up in the chain, and the call went out for volunteers. Our Ham Watch link soon became essential, and cops were getting their licenses en masse. The 1994 Northridge earthquake epicenter was a short bike ride from my house. Landlines and electricity were out, but I was able to get my Jeep out of the garage. My little Kenwood 733 model became the comm center for about the first 4 hours.
Wow.
Cell phones were few and far between in those days. With cyber war upon us, it's a no-brainer for China, Russia, Iran, et al. To take out our communications at will. Now that I've written that, I'm going to go dig up my old rigs and see if they all still work. Thanks.
Well,
there you go.
And, how long will it take before Energy Queensland says, we've really got to turn off everybody's internet for a little while, peak times, we can't have you on the internet, or whatever the problem is. It makes so much sense just to take the test. Take the test. It's very simple. Grab a couple of those cheap China rigs, the Baofangs.
There's not one dude named Ben listening to this show, and there's plenty of dudes named Ben, variously, that can't just take, without studying, could go take it back.
Without study. But all you have to do is just go to the ARRL.net They have the current questions with the proper answers published. All you have to do is know what the answer is. It's multiple choice. The answers will be out of order from the test, from the prep test. Duh. But yeah, you can read it through once and still get it. Then you buy a couple of these $25 rigs, throw one in your car, throw one in the kitchen, you just have them everywhere, and just in case. That's all. It's a little
frequency mode.
Okay. All right, ham boy. All right, we got you. And then I do have a little update on my favorite OTG phone of the moment. This is the Alcatel Go Flip 3, not to be confused with the Alcatel Flip, which was shit, underpowered, no good. This is the one you want to have. It has the 4G. It's got a lot of things in there. There is a little chink in the armor, though. The first thing to note is I have made some phone calls on this. It is dynamite. I mean, really, it's almost like being transported back in time to make a phone call on the flip phone because it adheres to the curvature of your head for most people. John Kerry needs a special version, but it fits nicely. You can hear people properly, not like that slab that you're pressing up against your cheek, trying to position the hole right over where your ear opening is. This is if you want to talk to people on the phone, which I know is a weird concept, but I do it a lot more since I can't do much more with it, or at least not fast. It's a great phone to talk on. Here's the rub. When you hang up, there is nothing more satisfying than that click. You know, you just click it closed. And it's supposed to hang up. The problem is, when you do that, you click it closed, you hear beep from the closed phone. You always hear the last second of the phone disconnecting while it's already closed. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah, and this annoys you.
It's so dissatisfying. The whole point.
You like the finality of
yes, yeah, the explosive like.
And there's no finality if it's going to make a beep.
No,
sound.
Of course not. It's very weak. Huge user interface issue. Otherwise, the phone is
a solid note to the CEO
of Alcatel. Yes, please immediately change that. And you might want to get that, as the reports are now out that the iPhone 11 Pro still collects location data even when you have it all turned off. Apple says that's the desired behavior. I'm sure it is.
Yeah, it's a bug, not a feature. I'm sorry, it's a feature, not a bug.
I'm sure it is. So again, consider what you're using. It's not just the tracking; it's also just to not want to use the thing because it's so bad.
OTG going OTG.
And try some Linux while you're at it. The OTG reports on your No Agenda show.
Well, let's take another short clip just to keep us up here on the Space Force update.
Ooh, been waiting for that.
Russia's president is accusing the U.S. of viewing space as a potential theater of war. Vladimir Putin says the rapid development of America's Space Command has prompted Moscow to ramp up its own sector. Putin insists he is against militarizing space. Donald Trump says he wants the U.S. to dominate space.
Space Force! I think there's something else going on here, but this is a little radical, but second half of show stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That the Russians jumped in on this with this complaining so they could get involved with Space Force because this is all to set up shop in space to stop the alien invasion coming.
No, what are you talking about? We're finally everyone's getting their act together because damn it, man. The Israelis, they got bases there. We got to do something about this.
I'm going to show my support by donating to No Agenda. Imagine all the people who could do that. Oh yeah, that'd be fun. No Agenda in the morning.
We have a few people to thank for show 1196. And we're heading to show 1200, by the way.
Yes, it's coming up.
Pay attention. Dame Amanda of the Northeast starts us off, and she actually sent a check-in with a cute little note. Not a long note. She likes to draw hearts. AC/JCD, thank you for all of the important work you do. requesting some health karma. So,
well, I guess we're giving it now.
Yeah, give us.
All right. You've got karma.
All right.
Onward. Chuck Bennett in McCall, Idaho. He needs some cancer karma for Ruby. He came in with $111.11, and we could put. We should probably run that too, since we're
absolutely.
You've got karma.
Do a short list.
Yes.
John Robinet, $100. Baron Latikin, $100. Bruce Hutchison, $81.92 from Anthem, Arizona. 3 weeks to knighthood.
Nice.
Gabe Shabazian in San Francisco, California. I expect to see him at a meetup eventually. Sorgat Nate in Sebastopol, $69.69. RJ Mora in Elmira. Is it Elmira?
Almira.
Elmira.
Almira.
Elmira in Netherlands.
Yes. So he has an hour. Wait, he has an hour and 15 minutes of commute to work
in the
Netherlands.
Commuting from
Almere. I don't know where he's going. And by the way, my sister's fighting against leukemia. We got to do another one.
You've got karma.
What's this? Which sister? Which sister?
His sister.
Oh, his sister.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's in his note.
Like you said your sister.
No. I'm sorry. Oh, no. He says in his note, my sister is fighting against leukemia.
Yes.
Hold on, sis, he says. Yeah, okay. Yeah. That's a brother for you.
She's got the karma that might help.
I hope so.
Sir Johnny the Swamp Knight, Nashville, Tennessee, 6660. Tom Ratter, Sir Kilgore Trout of the dude's name Ben. In Woodstock, Ontario. Daniel Mariano in Pflugerville, Texas. You must know how to pronounce that. It's 5510.
Now, this is a point of contention.
Pflugerville?
No, he says de-douching, please. He requested de-douching. You set this on that when they request it, we got to give it.
You've been de-douched.
That's the way it's always been.
Yeah, but if you just pass over it.
Well, this is the reason there's two of us.
Okay, well, good.
Am I right with Pflugerville?
You nailed Pflugerville. Absolutely.
Sir Acid of the Scandinavian Woods is up next. Another double nickels on the dime. Shout out to Professor War and the rest of the No Agenda group.
NoAgendaSocial.com trolls. Yes.
Social.com.
It's quite a party.
Sir Dude named Ben Onimus. He actually sent us a note, I think.
It has the color of a note.
Yeah. I got to put this note aside. He says, as promised in my email about playing around with SendGrid as a possible alternative to MailChimp. And then he sends some stuff out. Oh, okay. I put this is on the list. As Young as Human Resource gets a call out, it's on the list. He never says who it is. So it's okay. We're good. Sorry.
Okay.
Sir Tom Dari in DeForest, Wisconsin. He comes in. What does he have? He has a note. Does he have a note?
I think so.
No, that's just a check that came in. Sorry. Francisco Tejeda, 5230. Oh, by the way, Dari was double nickels on the dime. Francisco Tejeda is 5432. Joel Ferrand is 5314. Michael Gates, 5280. Charles Quinn in Aurora, Colorado, 5280. Eric Hokel in Mulrose, Deutschland, 52. Hello, Eric. Sir BX, 5121. That's some sort of a note there. We might look that over. Sir Luke, the Viscount of London and the Southeast in London, $51.01. Collective Karma is running on an event. He needs karma. We'll put that at the end. Andrew Oxenham in Knoxville, Tennessee, 50. The following people are all $50 donors. Thomas Berg, 50. Matthew Januszewski in Chicago. Villarreal in Mercedes, Texas. Dame Jamie, Sir Mad Hatter is under some crazy stress at work. On top of that, they expect him to leave home at 5 a.m. and get home, and she's bitching.
She wants to get jobs karma for her man.
We'll get some jobs karma for the end there.
Of course.
Your beloved. Michael Janowski in Glendora, Pennsylvania. Aiichi Kitagawa in San Francisco. He's also the hunter of wild mushrooms. He said, I started working at a startup in San Francisco, Docker Inc., and my department got sold off to another company.
Oh.
Now, post-acquisition, redundancy layoffs started.
Of course.
We'll put some jobs karma specifically for you at the end. Bradley Ledden, $50. Blake Harper in Edmonds, Washington. Sir Brett Farrell, OKC, Oklahoma, every month, $50. Baron Allen Bean comes in every month with $50. And, we got Aiichi Kitagawa again. So he probably gave 100 total.
Yeah.
So we'll give him some special jobs karma. And I want to thank all these folks for contributing to the best podcast in the universe and helping us produce it and get it out of here.
Yeah, and it's a simple system. We just decided a long time ago, like when we started the show and it became an actual job, we said, hey, you know what? What is this worth to you? This work that we're doing. It's very different to many different people, and I think the big revelation was just that people were interested in supporting the show financially for the value that they receive from it, which is why you now are immediately called a producer. But also the numbers themselves became content, where we have double nickels on the dime. You hear it all the time. There's 5432. There's all the 6969. The threes. The six. There's the boobs. There's all. It's become content, which is it's an unbelievable concept. And I'm going to do the karmas and the health, the jobs karmas and health karmas, and then I want to share a little clip as the virus of the value for value model is apparently spreading. So first, I want to thank you guys and everyone who came in under $50. This is for people who are on our subscription programs diligently every single week or month or sometimes by episode, are on a subscription program. And also people who want to be anonymous so you do not read notes under $50 to make sure we don't mess anything up. Thank you so much for supporting us. You can do it again on Sunday. I will be once again coming to you from parallel to runway 27 here at Schiphol Airport in Gitmo Nation Lowlands. To support us, go to Dvorak.org/NA. Two jobs karmas, since they both work.
Jobs.
You've got karma.
Jobs, and jobs. Let's vote for jobs.
You've got karma.
It's a birthday.
Well, today is Sinterklaas here in the Netherlands. That means the good holy man and his black Pete's are running around bringing gifts and candy to the kids, putting it in their wooden shoes. But we have some birthdays as well. As you heard earlier, Sir Dave, our Earl, says happy birthday to Dame Isabella. She celebrates her birthday on December 7th. Mike Nikolaichuk turned 40 just recently, December 4th. Sir Dude named Benonymous says happy birthday to his unnamed child, 30 on November 26th. Unnamed, huh? And a happy birthday to my very own Uncle Don. He celebrates today, the 5th of December. No idea, but I'm pretty sure he's pretty old. Happy birthday, Uncle Don, and everybody else from all your friends here at the best podcast in the universe.
Title changes. Turn and face the slave.
Title changes.
Don't wanna be a douchebag.
Only one for today, one quick title change. Sir Anthony Farmer has changed his name, and I don't know if that's an upgrade or a change, but either way, we're happy to highlight it. He is now Sir Alf of the Nether Realm, and you will be expected to address him as such, and thank you very much for your continued support, Sir Alf of the Nether Realm. Quick overview of the meetups. It's like a party! Let's see what's going on. We've got a couple organized for the month of December. Actually, we start with Friday in Nashville, Tennessee. That is the 6-week cycle. It happens every 6 weeks, 6 p.m. That is Rich B organizing that for you. The venue will be announced on noagendameetups.com. It may even be there, actually. The Seattle Monthly also taking place tomorrow at 7:30. Please meet at the long table at the Canterbury Ale House. That's every first Friday of the month. Then we have, excuse me, the Portland-Salem Local 33 event, number 5, which will be at McMenamin's Old Church and Pub in the Pub. Tim, your executive producer from episode 962, hosting that. Spokane, Washington. Seems like a lot of West Coast. 7 p.m. Local time. Jeffrey Aikenberg is hosting that at the Nectar Wine and Beer. We have the Chicago meetup, Chicago, Illinois. This is the big one. It's the Midwest Furry Convention. We cannot wait to see these photos, and I do expect a video of furries singing the Gitmo Nation national anthem. I will be very disappointed if we don't get that.
I think it would also be good to have the furries just yell, "Shut up, slave," or
a couple of things. Yeah, but we need video. It needs to be video.
We need video.
Yeah, and in fact, as much as we can get, and we do have a couple of submissions from our meetup reports. Let me see. I have. Let me see here. I've got. Yes, I have audio. First of all, I finally have the Sydney meetup Gitmo Nation anthem, which I've been trying to play for 3 episodes, is crapping out. We have a winner.
3, 4. In the morning, Gitmo Nation, we are all charged up to be human resources and servants in our land and our ships at sea. From east to west, down under to the lowlands and beyond, we are happy and distracted slaves. Hear our Gitmo Nation song. In the morning!
Now listen,
we officially...
Now listen to the very end here.
Beautiful. Could you please leave immediately without fuss?
Could you please leave immediately without fuss? Yeah, you can get kicked out of the bar. These are really great. I don't know that everybody has to do that because, everyone kind of knows the words.
Second. Where was this?
Australia. Sydney.
Now, most bars, at least the European ones, especially when you get to the bars in Germany, these people are constantly singing.
Yeah, but they also had a goat's head and a whole bunch of other weird things. I think if you're going to sing loudly, don't bring the goat head.
Yeah, probably right. Yeah,
now, we did get some, and I really appreciate the songs. And we have a number of these, and and I think it's almost a requirement that you have a meetup that you sing the song. I really like that. We're not going to play it every single show in the meetup report, but we did get 2 audio meetup reports. The first one here is the Kitchener meetup.
Hey, Guardians of Reality. This is Sir Stroming, the stinky Swedish fish, Knight of the Bog of Eternal Stench. We're all hanging out here, a bunch of slaves.
Can you imagine in the bar and you overhear this? You're like, honey, let's move to another table. These guys are nuts.
Hey, Guardians of Reality. This is Sir Stroming, the stinky Swedish fish, Knight of the Bog of Eternal Stench. We're all hanging out here, a bunch of slaves. First meetup in Kitchener went pretty well. Everyone is not triggered, and we're just going to pass around the table and say yo. Oh, and this is Local 42033.
This is Dame Catherine the Patient, proof that meetups are not just sausage fests.
This is Sir Saturday Night. I'm here with the Kitchener meetup here, and it's going well.
This is Sir Beaches of Open Again. I do have a night name. I never definitively chose one or called in for one, so this is I actually have a night name now.
This is producer Chris, enjoying my time at the meetup, and Jamie, Laura, and Tim are douchebags.
This is Brian, also having a good time at the meetup, still a douchebag, soon to be a knight.
In the morning!
Now that's a meetup report. Model meetup report. Beautiful.
So I'm in the bar, like you said, next to this group.
Yeah.
And my wife turns to me and she says, "Hey, what's going on?" And I say, "Shriners."
Shriners. We need the hats.
Shriners.
I love those Shriner hats.
Yeah.
The bomb.
Well, yeah, I think we're headed there.
And then we had the Puerto Rico meetup hosted by our very own Jambo Joe Winky.
From the Cannon Club in Old San Juan, Puerto Rico, this is Jambo Joe.
And John Henry, Sir John of the Zika.
Wow. Por la mañana!
Excellent. We still don't know why Jambo Joe is there.
No, he's probably opening up a new store. Who knows? It's a new market for him. That guy, he's going to be a billionaire. He's going to be the first official.
He has the potential.
He does have he knows how to market stuff. He does. And then the value for value model. Something happened this week, which is worth mentioning. Dave Rubin started a new company, and his explanation for this was very interesting. I'm very happy that he has seen the light. Dave Rubin, I think he was he doing commercials at any point before he went to Patreon?
I think he may have.
I think there was some maybe YouTube money, and then there was deplatforming or demonetizing, and then he went to Patreon and
pulling the rug out from under him.
And then he looked at his 10% that Patreon takes, and he's like, "Well, that's no good." And then he decided to launch his own company called Locals.com. That's a good domain name, actually. And here is his little pitch, which I found really great on one hand, and I do have an issue with what he's doing on the other.
We officially closed my Patreon account. For weeks, I had been telling people, leave Patreon, join us at daverubin.com. We built out a great site so that we could just do the same fan funding that we were doing on Patreon. We actually went to a place where we were offering no rewards. So on Patreon, I was doing all these Google Hangouts, and we were sending people all this stuff, and it was becoming another job unto itself. And we then just created daverubin.com, and we allowed people to just donate whatever they wanted to do to help us keep the show independent and everything else. And we found that by not even giving rewards, just showing a little bravery, just kind of sticking up against big tech, against Patreon in this case, that our revenue actually jumped about 30%. So we were actually giving people less rewards in that we were giving them no rewards anymore. And our revenue jumped because people were like, oh, Dave and Jordan and Sam and a few other people. It's like, oh, you guys are doing something good and doing something brave.
All right, I just got to stop here. Dave, stop with the doing something brave. You're not brave, okay? Stop with the, doing something very brave. People are not donating because you're brave. You have an outstanding product. That's all you need. And then you just say, what is it worth to you?
In a really bizarre time. So as we decided to do that, I thought, this isn't enough. Because of a couple of years of doing this, have built a nice business here, and I've got a great staff, and we were able to build us a website and figure out how to fan fund. And my garage, I'm in my garage right now. My studio is in my home. My control room right over there is a guest bedroom, and the green room right over there is another guest bedroom. We've built an incredible business here, and what I realized was I want to start giving the tools that I've been able to build. I want to start giving them to other creators because these problems are not going away.
Now, I have not signed up for Locals, but he does talk in this. The whole thing is about half an hour. He does talk about this new business that he started. And I'm not really going to say I think that's a good idea, because you're basically going to run into all the same problems you just walked away from. And to say, look, here's the deal.
Look,
I had a couple of years to build my business. And, and he kind of implies that you need these tools and you can bypass those couple of years to start your business. This is where I'm going to say no. It takes time. It took us, I'm going to say, 5 years at least until it became a little bit viable for us. Maybe even 6 or 7 years. Do you remember?
2.
No. But before it was viable, I didn't quit my job until year 5.
You didn't have to quit your job.
Yeah, I did. What do you mean?
Well, eventually you're going to quit your job, but because you're going to quit your job.
Yeah, but then for a couple,
if we knew what we know today, it's very easy to get to 0 to 100 in 2 years. It doesn't take 6, 7, 8 years.
Well, okay, this is interesting, but you still have to build it. And I think the No Agenda Show recommends you build this yourself. I can only presume Dave Rubin's new business is charging people for these tools.
Yeah, I would hope so.
Yeah, but this is just do it yourself. You don't need tools.
That's what you're talking to the choir here.
I know. I'm speaking to people.
It's as though he says what he really said, and let's just be honest about it. He said, this Patreon, we could do Patreon ourselves.
That's pretty much it. We'll do a better Patreon.
Copy what Patreon's doing and just change the name to the DaveRubin.com or locals.com. But it's still Patreon for you suckers. But meanwhile, for me, the VIG is missing. Now I get all the minus the credit card fees, of course, which you can pick up have everybody else pick up. No, this is nonsense.
I mean,
he's disingenuous.
Yeah, that's what it felt like a little bit to me. It's like, yes, you're right about it's amazing if you just let people send you whatever they think it's worth, although he didn't say it in those words, it works. But then I guess you're going to,
they have to make things complicated.
Yes. I mean,
nobody wants to just take a look at the simplicity of it. The thing is, which I think we learned just on accident, is that simplicity is really the way that the world works. If you want it to be simple, you make it simple. That's why we don't have a big staff of producers and engineers.
This is the main thing. This is the main thing.
That's what most people are killing themselves with.
Yeah. And also learn to tape live, because the post-production will kill you. It will kill you.
Yeah. This is why no, post-production is no good. People have to realize that. That's what happened to one of our competitors that was probably, and they did model after us, but they're putting out a good product. I can never remember the name of that old podcast, but they're putting out a great product actually, but it was post-produced, take 3 or 4 days to get it out the door.
Yeah, well, they're also doing video. There's another issue.
They were doing video, which is no reason for that. Even
Unfiltered. Unfiltered was the name of the show.
Unfiltered, very good. It was a very good podcast.
Yeah,
and kind of like a no agenda twist. They stole a lot of our jingles and things, which we groused about now and again.
Yeah,
and simple, but they had too many people. Then they were doing video and they were posting the whole thing up, and it was semi-rehearsed and almost scripted. It was just come on.
All right. Right now we're gonna give away all the secrets. It's real simple. 1, open-ended. 2, as many payment methods as you can garner, and never be afraid of checks or bank transfers or anything like that. Be open to that. Particularly in the United States, there's a lot of ways you can transfer money from bank account to bank account for free. I would say consistency of if you say you're going to do it every Thursday, then do it every Thursday. Twice a week on Thursday, do your show and do it more or less on time. Do it in real time. And then I think the number one secret to this success, after you've conditioned people, and you may want to just, I would recommend people also address and even recognize your listeners as producers, because that's what they are. And the new radio, is what podcasting is gone way beyond the let me call in my request on the phone line or whatever. It is completely interactive. Your people are making your show. If you haven't figured that out, it's never really going to work. So your listeners are your producers. Your producers are the ones who are responsible for keeping the content honest, on par, on track, whatever it is, and they're the ones who will support it financially. But then above all, the reminder. And I think the newsletter is of critical importance. Critical. People need to be reminded. And that's it. Is there anything I'm leaving out?
Quality product.
Well, above all, if you don't have an outstanding product, all the aforementioned will not work at all.
No, it's not going to work unless you're providing something that people really want or need, or they can't get anyplace else, or it entertains them. We try to do a variety of our approaches, various, let's say, where we have entertainment value, we have informational value, we have analysis value. We do what we can, but this has a lot to do with the fact that we're both older and experienced.
Yes, you should also be old.
We're older, experienced, well-traveled, and both been in broadcasting.
You should also be old. Be old, and then you're good to go.
Yeah, if you're older's better.
I finally received my Epstein didn't kill himself bumper stickers. I got them just before I left, so I haven't put it on the car yet.
Oh, put them on a building in Amsterdam.
No, I didn't bring them with me. They're still at home. But there are some interesting things regarding Epstein that have cropped up. Now, 2 stories this week. The first one, Jeffrey Epstein's private banker at Deutsche and Citi found swinging from a rope. Executive suicide before FBI could question him. And yeah, there was a banker from Deutsche Bank, and I have a call into the former New York banker to find out what's going on. But there's never any evidence that he was Jeffrey Epstein's private banker, the same way that there was this small aircraft, Piper, went down in Indiana. And this is a very odd story. The guy apparently had someone just fill up the tank, an intern who was working, like on a jobs program. And that's the guy you want.
The story's very sketchy.
Yeah, but then they say this was Jeffrey Epstein's plastic surgeon. He must have been killed by the wrong gas. I mean, come on.
Yeah,
there's no evidence Epstein had plastic surgery, but okay. So these things I find very very annoying.
Every death you could relate to Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah, exactly. And, I just want to point out that since almost the inception of this program, we've been talking about elites and sex parties and pedophilia and all kinds of weird things. And in fact, that's how I got my name, The Crackpot. That's how I started with the radio station that got burned down in the Netherlands, figuratively speaking. And now it's just mainstream chicanery. Now we're just laughing about it like it's the most normal thing in the world. It's not even really news anymore. Although the BBC is still staying on the Prince Andrew thing as they interviewed Virginia Roberts, and that interview aired this past Monday. Now, apparently, they had already interviewed her before they did the Prince Andrew interview. So that's how they knew about the sweating and the dancing that he responded to that was impossible because he's a reptile and he has to shed his skin every 10 years. So now this piece aired, and it's all over for Prince Andrew.
Now to that royal scandal. In Britain, TV viewers tonight saw a dramatic interview with Prince Andrew's accuser. Virginia Giuffre called on the public to stand with her against sex trafficking. Charlie D'Agata on what could be more damaging news for the prince.
He knows what happened. I know what happened. And there's only one of us telling the truth, and I know that's me.
That truth, as Virginia Giuffre tells it in her first interview on British soil, is that she was forced to have sex with Prince Andrew when she was 17 years old. It was taped before Prince Andrew went public in that widely criticized interview where he strenuously denied all allegations.
I have no recollection of ever meeting this lady. None whatsoever.
But Giuffre says the prince had sex with her on 3 occasions. She was brought to London by convicted pedophile Jeffrey Epstein, where she was instructed to dance with Prince Andrew at a nightclub.
I mean, it was horrible, and this guy was sweating all over me. Like, his sweat was it was raining.
I have a peculiar medical condition, which is that I don't sweat, or I didn't sweat at the time.
And then Giuffre described what happened next at a townhouse after the club.
It didn't last very long, the whole entire procedure. It was disgusting. He wasn't mean or anything, but he got up and he said thanks and walked out, and I sat there in bed just horrified and ashamed. It was a wicked time in my life. It was a really scary time in my life. I had just been abused by a member of a royal family.
It is a scandal that refuses to go away, and one that has shaken the royal family to the core. In the wake of the crisis, Nora, the decision has been made for Prince Andrew to step away from all public duties for the foreseeable future.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. He's in the...
Well,
what?
I have a question.
Yeah?
For one thing, I realized that I probably had met this guy.
Prince Andrew?
Yeah, there was some Silicon Valley thing I got suckered into going to. And you know me. And
yes, I do.
Okay, I'll go to this because I'm going to get to meet Prince Andrew, somebody else, or some other celebrity there. Turned out there was like 1 million people there. And maybe you could stand in a line, you'd come by and give a high five or whatever. I don't even remember if I actually touched him. I could have seen if he was sweaty. But was it when you were in England? Am I just mixing up these princes? Wasn't he always known as Randy?
Randy Andy, yes, Randy Andy. Oh,
gay?
Yeah. I don't know. No. Not that I know of.
I thought he was supposed to be Randy Andy, and I thought he was supposed to be gay.
No, I was Randy Andy because he was just all over the supermodels. He had all these buddies who ran modeling companies. He was in the set. Oh, yeah, he was in the. In fact, and quite frankly, if you touched him, you should go scrub your hands. Who knows?
I can't actually remember what the event. I may have. It's one of those things where I go in something like, "Oh my God, there's too many people here. I'm going to stay here."
You've turned around. I can see you go, "Oh no," and turn around and walk right out. I can see you doing that.
Yeah, very easily. Believe me, I've done that many a time.
Now, luckily, in the United States of America, we always have our humor and our wits about us. We like making fun of things. The Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself meme is very American. I think I like it. It's funny. It lifts the spirits, and there's nothing like it lifts the spirits. And there's nothing like going into a Walmart and saying, "Hey, I'm looking for my buddy. Could you please announce his name and ask him to come to the register?"
Good afternoon, Walmart customers. If I may have your attention, please. Will Mr. Clinton Kildepstein meet your party at the grocery entrance? Mr. Clinton Kildepstein, please go to grocery entrance to meet with your party. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let me know if he doesn't show up like in 5 minutes.
Okay.
When you come back and I'll do it again.
Mr. Clinton Kildepstein. I love that. What's his name?
I can't believe somebody's buying it. This is like the joke on The Simpsons.
Yeah, but it works.
Well, yes. You get somebody.
Clinton Kildepstein. Yeah. What's his first name? Clinton. What's his last name? Kildepstein. Okay. Come on.
Kildepstein.
That's one of my favorites.
Kildepstein.
Do you want to leave on this high note, or you want to bring us down with the final clip?
Well, we got a couple of final clips that could bring us down. Well, let's just do this one. This kind of brings us up.
No.
Just catch people up with the fact that Bryn and Paige are now out.
Yes.
At Google.
The end of an era at Google. The online giant's co-founders Larry Page and Sergey Brin are taking a step back from parent company Alphabet, leaving their roles as CEO and president. In a joint letter announcing the shake-up, the pair said they would remain actively involved, but said it was the natural time for change.
While it has been a tremendous privilege to be involved in the day-to-day management of the company for so long, we believe it's time to assume the role of proud parents, offering advice and love, but not daily nagging.
After founding Google as Stanford graduate students in a garage over 2 decades ago, Page and Brin went on to become one of the tech industry's most successful double acts. The Silicon Valley duo moved from Google to Alphabet when it was created in 2015 as part of a restructuring to include new initiatives such as self-driving cars. The pair have been pursuing a more hands-off approach for some time, a move that's drawn criticism as Google faces pressure over anti-competitive practices and tax avoidance. After taking over the reins at Google 4 years ago, Sundar Pichai has become the public face of the firm. He'll now also become Alphabet's CEO. While the move is the most significant leadership change at Google since its creation, Page and Brin aren't giving up their ultimate power. Between them, they still control 51% of voting rights on Alphabet's board.
This is just a formality, isn't it? I mean, these guys weren't really involved in the day-to-day anymore.
They were up until about a year ago.
I thought the Sundar was doing everything.
No, well, they were his boss. He was just doing what he was told.
Now, and I didn't realize.
I believe that's going to continue, by the way, with them in a lower profile.
Yeah. The thing is, what are they going to do? I'm sure they're going to do something big and public, and it'll have something to do with space or another one of those. I didn't realize that Sergey.
Everybody goes into space.
Yeah, Sergey. Now, he was married to Anne Wojcicki.
Yeah.
And divorced, and she is the CEO of 23andMe. What I didn't realize is that Anne's sister, Susan, is the CEO of YouTube. It's kind of incestuous.
You think?
Yeah, I just didn't realize it. I never put it all together. I'm like, wait a minute. That's the sister. So his sister-in-law got a cushy job. Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, but actually, the older sister, the 23andMe woman, is worth $600 million, and the younger sister somehow is worth $400 million. I talk about falling into it.
Jeez. Well,
all right.
Not much of that for us as podcasters.
No, but we're podcasters.
Yes.
Someday it'll be looked upon as, wow, these guys are pioneers.
Yeah. Okay. Don't hold your breath. Pioneers. No.
Pioneers.
No, Dave Rubin will get credit for creating the value for value model. And, Ricky Gervais is the podfather.
Joe Rogan will be the first podcaster.
Yeah. That's it, everybody. Remember to propagate the formula. We are the OGs. Let them know. Because it's true. Nick the Rat is coming up on noagendastream.com with another episode. This one's titled Deer Sewer, so I guess he's talking to his house. That's coming up next, noagendastream.com. Then we have end of show mixes from Brian Longenecker, Leo LaPuke, and Jesse Coy Nelson. Appreciate that, as always. And I have my family funeral function tomorrow. And then on Sunday, we'll be back with another show right parallel to runway 27 here at Schiphol Airport in Amsterdam, Gitmo Nation, Lowlands. Until then, remember us at Dvorak.org/NA. Until then, in the morning, everybody, my name's Adam Curry.
And from Northern Silicon Valley, I'm John C. Dvorak.
We return Sunday right here on No Agenda. Until then, adios, mofos, and such, and Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself.
I've defeated the Clinton dynasty, I've defeated the Bush dynasty, and I've defeated the Obama, whatever you want to call it. But I have to deal with crazy Nancy. Hatred is incredible. But I have to deal with crazy Nancy. I mean, she's crazy as a bedbug. She is nuts. She is nuts. Bedbug. I've defeated the Bush dynasty. I've defeated the Clinton dynasty, and I've defeated the Obama, whatever you want to call it. Hatred is incredible. She is nuts. Bedbug. Bedbug. She is nuts.
Don't eat me, Bo Jordan. You're scary, so scary.
I'm Joe Biden, and I approve this message.
I got hairy legs. I learned about roaches. Corn Pop was a bad dude.
Joe Biden with his wife's finger in his mouth.
Ew. He describes children and how they were playing with his leg hair.
Ew. Is America ready for that?
I got hairy legs. And the kids used to come up and reach in the pool and rub my leg down so it was straight and then watch the hair come back up again.
Ew.
Kids jumping on my lap. I love kids jumping on my lap. I learned about roaches jumping on my lap.
He likes children crawling on his lap? Ew.
That's a lot of malarkey. We're telling the truth.
I got hairy legs.
Keep punching at it and punching at it and punching at it. The president has that big stick. Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids.
We choose truth over facts.
Vice President Biden, you are a racist.
Stop sniffing my hair, Joe.
Joe Biden's got a big old bus, and right there on the side it says,
no malarkey.
A nibbling on the fingers got a tough guy, cause right there on the side it says,
no malarkey.
Well, you think that he would stop, give it up, but he keeps on going, never gonna be president, but he keeps on going, why,
no malarkey.
Have you ever smoked?
Okay. And I inhaled. I did inhale. It was a long time ago, but I just broke loose.
I mean, was it in college?
She put over 1,500 people in jail for marijuana violations and then laughed about it when she was asked if she ever smoked marijuana.
This is going to sound immodest, but I'm obviously a top-tier candidate. Well, yeah, and especially when people are at 0 or 1% or whatever she might be at. And so I did expect that I might take hits tonight. And I'm going to now direct this at Vice President Biden. You also worked with them to oppose busing. And there was a little girl in California who was part of the second class to integrate her public schools. And she was bused to school every day. And that little girl was me. Upon being elected, I will give the United States Congress 100 days to get their act together and have the courage to pass reasonable gun safety laws. And if they fail to do it, then I will take executive action. Senator Warren, I just want to say that I was surprised to hear that you did not agree with me when I called on Twitter to suspend Donald Trump's account, that you did not agree, and I would urge you to join me. When the President of the United States speaks, her words are very powerful.
Once drawing huge crowds, one of the top candidates on the Democratic side, Senator Kamala Harris, announcing she's dropping out.
The best podcast in the universe.
Adios, mofo.
Dvorak.org/NA.
Oh my God, we have run out of clips. No.